Unfortunately, our souls are at odds, brother. I need more power.
You pussy motherfuckers cannot fuck with King Hood. We in too deep, we run the motherfucking streets, yeah. We pull the trigger, Joker, smile it go bang. We pull the trigger, Joker, smile it go bang.
I'm at your head first, you can call me a crash dummy. Clothes looking bummy, I ain't looking to flash money. I stash money, I ain't spending shit cause I ain't giving. All year round, bitch, eat like it's Thanksgiving. Can catch me on the block, I'm posted up like I'm Tim Duncan. Paper chasing for the money, just look how the bread coming. Bitch, I ball like LeBron, but kick ass like I'm Jet Li. I'm on the block, posted with the snow and two jet skis. A couple of pounds of weed with no sticks and no stems, no seeds. And automatic weapons that's equipped with the lemon squeeze. They better not be the greatest, I come up some shit that you won't believe. You need me like a cop, I'm an accessory like Anna Free. Don't play with me, nigga. Like King JJ ain't been bumpin'. Collars and Macklemore, yeah, nigga, we been.
You think you stand a chance? Huh.
It's a strange jet. Engines are overloaded. More power.
We're superheating. Intermix temperature 7,400 degrees. 7.5. 7.6. 8,000. 2,000 degrees. Degrees above maximum. 8-4, 8-5, 8-6. She'll blow soon.
Now, Mr. Sulu, impulse power 2.
State Gang, the mob, King JJ, Mad, PMP, Gay, Joy Chit Chat, Money Boy Trey. We in too deep. Let's go!
Let's return now to our top story, the continuing epidemic of shootings and gun-related deaths in America. From Indiana to Texas to Florida, communities, families, and individuals are coping today with the aftermath of violence that remains all too routine.
Trying to show out, don't do no back though. Why the fuck you think these hollow tips up in the mag? Ho, look, now you ain't my bitch. What makes you think you get a bag for? I hopped up in these streets and they look back. What you look back for? No capping in these raps. Ho, won't go, no, can't get back though. Why the fuck you think these hollow tips up in the mag? Ho, look, now you ain't my bitch. What makes you think you get a bag for? I hopped up in these streets and they look back. What you look say I might be the plug, cause niggas out here trying to tax folks. Pull up in the dually, make one serve, then you see black smoke. I'm the shit going asshole. Cuz had 3 bowls and 4 poles inside a black toe. When I'm off the man, she know for sure she getting her back, bro. Got packed the gas 2 times up on this bitch, this hoe too fast, though. Got my license to tag, go to the flow like the dash, bro. Say I might be the reason all these niggas getting mad, though. Cause I can get no fucks about a nigga, where the bag go. If I flash out right now, I'm going out like it's my last roll. Put a switch on the last pole, burnt the barrel in half on. Say I can teach you something about the streets, I need a lab coat. Say he ain't here to bang it, hit his head, he saw the flash though. And I can get you touched, won't be for nothing, I better bag on. I'm the first and the last, so won't beef unless it's cash on it. 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 Don't do no back though. Why the fuck you think these hollow tips up in this mag hole? No, you ain't my bitch. What makes you think you get a bag for? And they look back what you look back for. No capping any raps, ho won't go, no can't get back though. Why the fuck you think these hollow tips up in this mag ho? No, you ain't my bitch. What makes you think you get a bag? I hopped up in these streets and they look back what you look back for. No capping any raps, ho won't go, no can't get back though.
Yo, what's going on, my YouTube fam? State Gang True Sippers. What's going on in the building? My mic on? Yeah, I had to make sure my mic working today, goddamn. What you call? Nah, money boy, I didn't get it set up. I saw too much other stuff going on at this moment where I had to jump in and jump on it, you know what I'm saying? But I will be setting that up actually as a system that I wanted, a way I wanted to set my system up. That I could probably use the StreamYard, but I just have to get the right setting to run it from another computer. That's the issue. Because if I run it on the same computer as I'm using OBS, it's going to be a lot of disruptions, buffering, and all kind of things going on. That link D-Truth gave me, I haven't looked into it just yet, but I will be on that too. You know what I'm saying? I got to find out, is the phone calls coming through the computer, or do you need a phone or something like that? Well, it's a link. I'm pretty sure you don't need a phone. But I will figure all that out real soon. Thanks to everybody coming in. Money Boy, they're gonna be Sugar 100. Salute. This looked like a good one right here. I caught it right at the end of our little debate over there on Money Boy's channel. Man, this one looks good here. A lot of the stuff that we was talking about, you know what I'm saying, basically what I was saying, look like it's gonna, some of it might come out in this hearing right here as far as the cover-ups and things like that. And this is the FBI, you know, so I don't want to hold up things much longer. Thanks again to everybody coming in. Remember to hit that like button, share this out, you know what I'm saying, subscribe to the channel. You know, for more content that matters. With that being said, get the YouTube thing up. I still haven't figured out my settings for this other screen here, but I didn't want it to buffer, so I didn't put a bunch of extra stuff on the screen and stuff. I got to figure out what is actually pulling the power or pulling the computer usage. Like I said, that's the main reason why I haven't used the StreamYards, because I refuse to pay for StreamYards anymore. I paid for it for 2 years, barely used it. Dang, it's buffering now. Like I'm starting to think it's my system. I'm gonna have to buy a new computer, but maybe I need a gaming computer. Maybe that'll work. With that being said, let's jump on in. This looks like it's a very good one here. FBI Director Wray. FBI Director Wray is testifying, and it looked like they was on his head tops when I jumped in off Money Boy's channel. They're gonna look like they were going in on his ass. So this should be exciting. Like I said, filling in the blanks of the empty areas here. I was looking for some more content besides this, so don't y'all worry, I will be with y'all on other content besides this Besides the committee court. I like committee court. I just can't help it. I watch this stuff all. I'm a C-SPAN guy and shit. So. Let's go.
It's quite telling that each example or category of suppressed speech was conservative in nature. The court further writes, the United States government seems to have assumed a role similar to an Orwellian ministry of truth. Specific to the FBI, the court said this: the FBI's failure.
Did you hear what I said at the beginning? I haven't got the link straight because I'm not sure how much computer usage it was going to use with this OBS. I'm starting to think that I just need a new computer, a lot stronger computer, or it might be something up here that's pulling that I don't know that's pulling. Even through my intro, that video shouldn't have buffed like that off of those graphics. So it's things I'm finding out slowly, and I haven't looked into D-Truth's link yet because I wasn't for sure how to use it, and too much going on at this moment, man. This look tasty right here. I had to make me a fresh pot of coffee.
To alert social media companies that the Biden laptop story was real and not Russian disinformation is particularly troubling. The FBI had the laptop in their possession since December 2019 and had warned social media companies repeatedly to look out for, quote, hack and dump operation by the Russians prior to the 2020 election. Even after Facebook specifically asked whether the laptop story was Russian disinformation, the FBI refused to comment, resulting in social media companies' suppression of this story, and as a result, millions of our fellow citizens did not hear the story prior to the November 3rd, 2020 election. Additionally, the FBI was included in industry meetings, bilateral meetings, received and forwarded alleged misinformation to social media companies, and actually misled companies in regard to the laptop story. When the court says the FBI misled, that's a nice way of saying they lied. They lied, and as a result, important information was kept from we the people days before the most important election we have, election of President of the United States, election of the Commander-in-Chief. In a survey last fall, 4 out of 5 Americans said they believe there's a two-tiered system of justice in America today. They said that because there is. They said that because of what they've witnessed. Think about what Americans have seen. National School Board Association, left-wing political group, writes the White House and asks them to treat parents at school board meetings as terrorists. And the Garland Justice Department does just that. They put together a memo, set up a dedicated line of threat communication, a snitch line on parents. As a result, parents get investigated by our FBI, get a threat tag associated with their name, 25 of them, because whistleblowers came and told us were investigated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Americans have seen the FBI's Richmond field office put together a memorandum saying pro-life Catholics are extremists. They've seen 20 FBI agents, SWAT team members, show up at the home of Mark Houck and arrest him in front of his wife and 7 children, even though he had indicated he'd be happy to turn himself in. And what was he arrested for? Him and his 12-year-old son were praying outside an abortion facility. Some guy starts screaming in his son's face, and he did what frankly any dad would do, defended his child. What's interesting is the National School Board Association apologized for the letter, but the Attorney General refuses to rescind his directive. The FBI did rescind, thank goodness, the Richmond Catholic Memorandum, but they refuse to tell Congress.
D-Truth, how can you say this is a joke and this thing just started? You haven't heard the evidence come out, and that's what I'm talking about. Y'all refuse to hear the other evidence that's coming out. Everything that's already out is supposed to be the truth. If that was the case, we wouldn't be in this position in this country right now. I'm pretty sure you're going to get a helping friend coming in here in a minute. But I understand what people saying about this guy. I still haven't seen the evidence on that yet. I don't see nothing wrong with Jim Jordan as far as what he's doing. call? I'm gonna let this continue. I'll be right back.
Congress who wrote it and who approved it. And Mr. Houck, when he got his day in court, he was acquitted by a jury of his peers. American speech is censored, parents are called terrorists, Catholics are called radicals, and I haven't even talked about the spying that took place of a presidential campaign or the raiding of a former president's home. But maybe what's more frightening is what happens if you come forward and tell Congress. If you're a whistleblower, come tell the legislature, come tell the Congress what's going on. Look out. You will be retaliated against. Ask Garrett O'Boyle. He told Congress about these issues. Took his clearance, they took his pay, they took his kids' clothes. Ask Gary Shapley, 14-year veteran at the IRS, handled some of the biggest international tax fraud cases at the agency. He comes forward, and the Justice Department kicks him off the case. But here's what's truly unbelievable. Here's what's amazing. With all that history, with all that, the Justice Department, the FBI, want the taxpayers they censored, the parents they labeled, the pro-life Catholics they called radical. They want them to pay for a new FBI headquarters. And they want FISA reauthorization of the 702 program in its current form. It's in the director's opening statement. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. There are 204,000 reasons why Republicans will oppose FISA reauthorization in its current form. 204,000 times the FBI improperly searched the 702 database. And unlike the FBI censorship, in the court's opinion, that was focused on conservatives, the FBI's illegal scrutiny wasn't just limited to conservatives. BLM supporters were illegally scrutinized by the FBI as well. And I hope our Democrat friends will join us in opposing reauthorization of Section 702 the way it's currently done. And I think they will. And I hope they will work with us in the appropriations process to stop the weaponization of the government against the American people and end this double standard that exists now in our justice system. With that, I yield to the gentleman from New York for an opening statement.
Mr. Chairman, not that long ago, an oversight hearing of the FBI in this committee would have been a relatively bipartisan exercise. My colleagues on both sides of the aisle would have asked legitimate questions about the functioning and mission of the Bureau. Some of the questions may have been tough. Debate may have gotten a little heated when we discussed important topics like privacy and discrimination. But our questioning would have been grounded in advancing and overseeing the FBI's dual missions of enforcing federal laws and countering national security threats on American soil. In short, despite our disagreements, we would have done our duty as members of the Judiciary Committee. Today, unfortunately, House Republicans will fall well short of that mark. For them, this hearing is little more than performance art. It is an elaborate show designed with only two purposes in mind: to protect Donald Trump from the consequences of his actions and to return him to the White House in the next election. Don't take my word for it. Chairman Jordan announced his plan last August, just days after the FBI searched Mar-a-Lago. He told an audience at CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference, that the investigation into Trump's wrongdoing was designed to, quote, help frame up the 2024 race, when I hope and I think President Trump is going to run again, and we need to make sure that he wins. Let me repeat that. We need to make sure that he wins. In pursuit of this goal, Chairman Jordan and committee Republicans have claimed for months that the FBI is corrupt, rotten, politicized, and their favorite word, weaponized against the American people. Chairman Jordan has launched an array of baseless investigations into the FBI, most premised on absurd conspiracy theories, some so absurd that the chairman cannot possibly believe them to be true. But this is where the extreme MAGA leadership of this Congress
If you want to say something about somebody, say something about this dude right here.
Will attack the FBI for having had the audacity to treat Donald Trump like any other citizen. The strategy is simple, really. When in doubt, Chairman Jordan investigates the investigators. The FBI dared to hold Trump accountable, so Republicans must discredit the FBI at all costs. You will hear claims today that the FBI's decision to investigate Donald Trump was somehow unfair. You will hear the Republicans attack the indictment of former President Trump on 37 counts related to his gross mishandling of national security information, including information regarding defense and weapons capabilities of both the United States and foreign countries, United States nuclear programs, potential vulnerabilities of the United States and its allies to military attack, and plans for possible retaliation in response to a foreign attack. The facts are made clear in the indictment. Quote, the unauthorized disclosure of these classified documents would put at risk the national security of the United States, foreign relations, the safety of the United States military, and human sources, and the continued viability of sensitive intelligence collection methods, close quote. Indeed, the indictment goes on to describe how the former president
Oh, my bad. I didn't hit the microphone. What I was stating was what you had just put in the chat with the lapdog thing. And I was telling the people, I was letting the people know when people say things about Trump's lapdog, Trump's sidekick, he's working for Trump. All they really trying to say is these people are working for you, the American people. But what you see in this country now, these people are not doing shit for you. They trying to tear you down. They stealing all your damn money right up under your nose. These people are fighting back for you. You know what I'm saying? So we can't get that screwed and keep giving out information like that. Like these folks is just all bad and they against them. These people are not against us. These Jim Jordans. I can't say the same for Marjorie Green. I haven't figured her out yet. But a lot of these people are all for us and they getting bashed because the people hate Trump. For no reason. That's why I'm exposing all these black folks on my community wall talking good about Trump and showing up and showing everything that they didn't tell you about this dude. The woman who's living in this fucking house for 8 fucking years rent free and all kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? The businesses that he helped out that they didn't have to pay him back after he helped them and all that. We don't hear about this. All we hear is Trump is bad, Trump is racist. We got to come with something better. It's 2023. Too much information out here though. Let's get back to the show.
Today about a man named Stephen D'Antuono, the former
and yes, I will be working on the stream thing so I can get you up here, D-Truth. There's somebody else I need to get up here. I see him stalking around the shows and stuff, thinking I'm leaving them out back. It's just I'm tired of hearing that stuff. We've been hearing this stuff for too damn long, and there ain't nobody sticking up for the other side, which is for us. You know what I'm saying? Everything is hate in this fucking world. Hate, 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 hate. I'm the mad militant, and I don't hate that goddamn much. What the fuck? Or do I need to get mad? I'm just saying. Going back to my coffee.
The Lago investigation was run out of the FBI's Washington field office instead of the Miami field office. What the chairman hides is that just seconds later, Mr. D'Antuono explained that, quote, the venue was here, meaning Washington, D.C., for the classified documents, that it was, quote, not out of the ordinary for Washington to be.
Do the conference call come through the computer itself, or do you need a phone? I didn't get a chance to really look into it yet. I saw them going ham on this thing. They like 2 hours in. I just wanted to hurry up and play catch up. Matter of fact, I need to speed this up a tad bit. But we'll never play catch up.
And has a deep-seated conspiracy to support liberal candidates and ideology. These claims are based on the words of several individuals, people Republicans are somewhat laughably calling whistleblowers. In fact, evidence shows that these individuals were suspended for violating serious FBI policies. One provided an unauthorized interview to Russian state-owned media. Another leaked information about an ongoing investigation, placing FBI agents and witnesses at risk. And another said that he wanted to use a senior FBI official as, quote, target practice. Chairman Jordan invited some of these so-called whistleblowers to testify before the Weaponization Subcommittee in May. As it turns out, two of the witnesses were ultimately paid $250,000 each for their testimony, money raised in part by former Trump aide Kash Patel and paid via a check whose memo line reads, quote, "for holding the line." And yet Republicans today will try to claim that it is the FBI and not these witnesses who are somehow corrupt. Republicans today will also attack President Biden, starting with the IRS investigation into Hunter Biden. They will ignore the fact that U.S. Attorney David Weiss had the authority to bring charges in any district he saw fit and was able to operate fully free of interference. They do not want to acknowledge that despite years of investigations, President Biden has not been found to have engaged in any wrongdoing. Instead, they'll try to convince you that Hunter Biden would have been charged with far more serious crimes had it not been for U.S. Attorney Weiss being blocked by the Biden political machine. Once again, when they do not like the outcome, they investigate the investigators and work to discredit the outcome. And Republicans will make false claims about the FBI's Foreign Influence Task Force, claiming that it is somehow censoring conservatives. In fact, the task force plays a key role in making sure that Russia, China, Iran, and other foreign entities cannot again interfere in our elections. According to committee Republicans, the task force's efforts to track and prevent foreign influence operations amount to attacks on conservative speech, a nonsensical claim considering that the Foreign Influence Task Force has nothing to do with censoring American free speech and in fact helps to ensure that American voices are heard by stopping Russian troll farms. Make no mistake, in making these claims, Republicans have all but rolled out the red carpet and begged Russia to once again interfere in our elections because they believe that doing so will get Trump reelected in 2024. And that is the goal of Republicans today. Republican claims that the FBI has been weaponized, their personal attacks on Director Wray, their repeated calls to, quote, to defund the FBI, these are not victimless acts. They are a clarion call to anti-government extremists, and that call is being heard. Last year, Director Wray faced multiple credible death threats. FBI employees faced more threats in the months after the Mar-a-Lago search than they had in the entire prior year. The problem has gotten so bad that FBI has had to stand up an entire new unit dedicated to combating threats to FBI agents and staff. It is far past time that Republicans realize the consequences of their actions. Republicans may want to downplay Trump's behavior and blame the FBI.
This is one of those situations we got to let the man speak for himself. When this guy started talking, we'll see what time it is, just like the last time. Whatever these guys are saying up here, sitting in the chairs, don't really mean nothing. Him answering the questions is what really means something. And how he answered them.
Investigation at Mar-a-Lago, I trust in the rule of law.
That's why I bring it to the floor, because by the time the news get this and chop it up, we're not going to get this story.
Bring the classified information to safety and protect the national security of our nation. Thank you for being here today, Director Wray. I hope your agents will not be disheartened by what they hear today and will continue this kind of work essential to the safety of our nation. I thank the chairman, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Just for the record, the pronunciation of the former assistant director in charge of the Washington field office is D'Antuono, something that ranking member might have known if he'd actually shown up at the deposition like I did. With that, we, without objection, all other opening statements will be included in the record. We will now introduce today's witness, the Honorable.
That's all good. Welcome to the show, D Sizzle, Mr. Crystal. You got a tag team partner sitting up there in the chat right there. But just to let everybody know, the new people who's coming up in the room, I try to find the truth and get down to the truth. I don't really go off too many people's opinions, not anymore. You know what I'm saying? I'm in search. I'm not an expert in none of this. I'm learning as I go, and all I want is the truth. So, with that being said, let's see how Director Wray lies.
Nice for your opening statement.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Jordan, Ranking Member Nadler, members of the committee. In the time that I have before we get to your questions, I want to talk about the sheer breadth and impact of the work the FBI's 38,000 employees are doing each and every day, because the work the men and women of the FBI do to protect the American people goes way beyond the one or two investigations that seem to capture all the headlines. Take violent crime. Last year alone, working shoulder to shoulder with our partners in state and local law enforcement, the FBI arrested more than 20,000 violent criminals and child predators. That's an average of almost 60 bad guys taken off the streets per day, every day.
I never heard of that either. I hope there's a lot of proof with that. You know what I'm saying? Because another thing I want to continue on this channel is not feed my people no more goddamn lies. I'm sick of the fucking lies. It got everybody out here fucked up, and I see a civil war coming between our own culture because people want to believe anything or put out anything and stand on it. They don't want to hear the other side. They don't want to hear no other evidence or nothing like that. It's just whatever they say or whatever they heard first. That's it. I try my best not to be that way. I try to come from all different directions. But if somebody is plain out lying, they're just gonna have to be called out as plain out lies, and there's plenty of them.
And we don't do that work alone. The FBI now leads more than 750 task forces nationwide, made up of more than 6,000 state and local task force officers, or TFOs as we call them, from more than 1,800 different state and local agencies. Each of those TFOs represents an officer, a deputy, or an investigator that a local police chief, sheriff, or state superintendent was willing to send our way. Certainly not because they didn't have enough work to do in their own department, but because they saw the tremendous value that our FBI-led task forces bring. And we are honored and humbled by their trust in us and grateful for their partnership. But the numbers don't tell the whole story. To truly appreciate the impact the FBI and our partners are having, you got to look at the cases. Just last month, for instance, the FBI charged 31 members of 2 drug trafficking organizations responsible for distributing dangerous drugs like fentanyl.
Unless you're talking about that whistleblower from the Facebook whistleblower. I believe I did hear something like that, now that I'm thinking about it. Was it the Facebook whistleblower? Hey D Sizzle, hey, I need a favor from you. What's called? How about this? Did you ever hear about the $30 million that was pushed from Obama to that DiCaprio? What's his name? I just had his name. We were just talking about it a minute ago. Salute, Sirius S. Thank you for joining us today. The actor guy. I just pulled up the article and stuff, but when you punch up Obama and $30 million and shit, a lot of articles. Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio. Thank you, D-Chief. What's called? Did you ever hear about that $30 million that Obama tried to push through him so he can endorse him with that money that he pushed through him? Or did you hear about the $30 million that came from China? These stories are out there, but is there any truth to them?
Cocaine and methamphetamine throughout the area around Marion, Ohio. In that one investigation run out of the FBI's 2-man office in Mansfield, we worked with partners from multiple local police departments and sheriff's offices to take kilos of fentanyl off Marion streets. Enough lethal doses, I should add, to kill the entire population of Columbus, Cleveland, and Cincinnati combined.
And shout outs to my background music, D-Sizzle, Mr. Crystal, he's in the chat. Y'all sub up to him and stuff, man, you know what I'm saying? Y'all content creators and stuff, y'all might need background music and things like that for your videos and stuff. Let my boy know. You know what I'm saying? He good peoples.
To protect the American people. Those men and women.
And also give me a hard time on my damn noobs. But he good peoples. Y'all check him out. You need music and shit for your backgrounds and things like that.
Continues to attract applicants in near record numbers. In fact, after the first couple of years of my tenure, the number of Americans applying to be special agents tripled the pace from when I started, reaching the highest levels in about a decade. At the same time, inside the FBI, our special agent attrition has remained in the low single digits and would be the envy of almost any employer. And even with these bigger numbers, the folks we're continuing to add continue to be top-notch. The percentage of both veterans and special agent hires with prior law enforcement experience has remained as steady as ever, between 25 and 30%. Add to that, in a job market where applicants have a whole lot of other opportunities, the percentage of those new agent trainees that also have advanced degrees is up and now approaches about 50% of every class at Quantico. But the thing that unites them all is a commitment to public service, a willingness to put others above themselves. And that is true from the bottom of the organization to the top. Since becoming director, I have worked hard to assemble and cultivate a leadership team that embodies those values and characteristics. It's a team that I purposefully chose because they walked the walk out in the field. Just taking our top 8 leaders as an example, they all came up through the Bureau as line agents. They've worked in 21 different field offices and have a combined 130 years of field experience. They include a West Point grad, veterans of the Army, Air Force, and Marines, as well as a former police officer and state trooper. And not a single one is a political appointee, not one. Today's FBI leaders reflect the best of our organization, an organization that is made up of 38,000 men and women who are patriots, professionals, and dedicated public servants. And that is the real FBI. I've now visited every single one of our 56 field offices twice, some of them more than twice. I speak constantly with local chiefs and sheriffs from all 50 states who work closely with us every day, with judges coast to coast who see and hear our work up close, with business leaders who turn to us for help with cyber attacks and Chinese economic espionage, with victims and their families, people that we protect from gangs and predators. And the FBI they tell me about consistently, almost resoundingly, is the same FBI that I see, an FBI that is respected, appreciated, trusted, and that is there for them when they need us the most. And that is the FBI that inspires me and that I'm proud to be here today to represent.
We think that we'll now proceed under the 5-minute rule with questions. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Wray, this is no time to mince words. The American people have lost faith in the FBI. All of our constituents are demanding that we get this situation under control, and we have to do that. That's our responsibility. This is not a political party issue, sir. This is about whether the very system of justice in our country can be trusted anymore. Without that, no republic can survive. See, the American people that we represent are losing count.
From Louisiana, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Wray, this is no time to mince words. The American people have lost faith in the FBI. All of our constituents are demanding that we get this situation under control, and we have to do that. That's our responsibility. This is not a political party issue, sir. This is about whether the very system of justice in our country can be trusted anymore. Without that, no republic can survive. See, the American people that we represent are losing count of the scandals that are mounting. The FBI has been involved. They've seen evidence that it's being used as a political tool of the Biden administration. They've seen counterterrorism resources being used against school parents, the homes of conservative political opponents being raided. They've seen conservative states being targeted over their election integrity laws, and conservative Catholics and pro-life citizens characterized as violent extremists. Just last month, as you know, former Special Counsel John Durham sat right in that seat and testified that the Justice Department and the FBI should never have launched the bogus Trump-Russia investigation. And his lengthy report reluctantly concluded that the FBI, quote, failed to uphold its mission of strict fidelity to the law. Just last week, NBC had a poll. Only 37% of registered voters now view the FBI positively. 35%.
Oh, my bad. I thought you were talking about Jim Jordan.
Of the country had a positive view of the FBI. There's a serious decline in the people's faith, and it's on your watch, sir. And then, July 4th, we had this explosive 155-page opinion from a federal court in my home state, Louisiana. It explains in detail that the FBI has been directly involved in what the court says is, quote, arguably the most massive attack against free speech in United States history. The court ordered the White House, DOJ, and FBI, among others, to immediately cease colluding with and coercing social media companies to suppress American speech, of course, conservative speech in particular. Director Wray, I find it stunning. You made no mention of this court opinion either in your...
So from what that guy said, was I talking crazy in the last show? Isn't that exactly what I was saying on Money Boys panel? I mean, I'm just asking. Or is it just our imagination?
In your opening statement today, or in this lengthy 14-page report that you prepared on July 12th, which is 8 days after the court ruling. Have you read the ruling, sir?
I am familiar with the ruling, and I've reviewed it with our Office of General Counsel.
Are you deeply disturbed by what they've told you about the ruling if you haven't read it yourself?
Obviously, we're going to comply with the court's order, the court's preliminary injunction. We sent out guidance to the field and headquarters about how to do that. Needless to say, the injunction...
There was no opinion, D-Truth, man. The guy had paperwork sitting right there in front of him.
Let me tell you what the court...
Y'all got to stop that.
It should be the first thing you think about every morning and the last thing you think about at night. They said that, quote, the court found, apparently the FBI engaged in a massive effort to suppress disfavored conservative speech and blatantly ignored the First Amendment's right to free speech. The evidence shows the FBI threatened adverse consequences to social media companies that they did not comply with its censorship request. The court found that, quote, this seemingly unrelenting pressure by the FBI and the other defendants had the intended result of suppressing millions of protected free speech postings by American citizens. As a result, the court states, for example, millions of citizens did not hear about the Hunter Biden laptop story prior to the November 3rd, 2020 election. Page 4 of the court ruling lists some of the important subjects that the Biden administration and the FBI forced the social media platforms to suppress. The evidence shows your agency, the people that directly report to you, suppressed conservative-leaning free speech about topics like the laptop, the lab leak theory of COVID-19's origin, the effectiveness of masks and COVID-19 lockdowns and vaccines, speech about election integrity in the 2020 presidential election, security of voting by mail, even parody about the president himself, negative posts about the economy. The FBI made the social media platforms pull that information off the internet if it came from conservative sources. They did this under the guise that it was disinformation. Can you define what disinformation is?
What I can tell you is that our focus is not on disinformation, broadly speaking.
Well, wait a minute. Yes, it is. Wait a minute.
Can I answer the question?
You can in a minute. Your star witness said in the litigation, Elvis Chan, who's in charge of this, said they do it on the basis of disinformation. We need a definition of what that is.
Our focus is on malign foreign disinformation, that is foreign hostile actors who engage in covert efforts to abuse our social media platforms, which is something that is not seriously in dispute.
I have to stop you for time. That's not accurate. You need to read.
Yeah, I did see that, G-Sizzle. I haven't had a chance to really open it because the device that app is on is fucked up. That's the damn device back from the pandemic. But I did see the notification pop up on it. But that thing, man, is old technology. That thing is slow as shit. But I thank you. I will check that out. And don't be coming in here trying to side up with D-Truth and stuff, man. You jumping in the war, man. You jumping in the middle of a war now. I understand y'all on the same side. But you're supposed to be helping me, man. I'm your homie, goddamn shit.
This court opinion because you're in charge of enforcing it. The court has found that, and Elvis Chan testified under oath in charge of this for you. He said 50%. He had a 50% success rate in having alleged election disinformation taken down or censored. That wasn't just foreign adversaries, sir. That was American citizens. How do you answer for that?
Well, first off, I'm not sure that's a correct characterization.
Comes right out of the opinion. You should read it.
Of his testimony. But what I would say is the FBI is not in the business of moderating content or causing any social media company to suppress or censor.
That is not what the court has found.
What I would also say is among the things that you listed off, I find ironic the reference to the lab leak theory. The idea that the FBI would somehow be involved in suppressing references to the lab leak theory is somewhat absurd when you consider the fact that the FBI was the only agency in the entire intelligence community to reach the assessment that it was more likely than not that was the explanation
but your
for the
agents,
pandemic.
Your agents pulled it off the internet, sir. That's what the evidence in the court has found.
Time the gentleman has expired. The gentleman from New York is recognized.
He's over on the right there. He keep trying to get eye contact with while he's talking.
Director Wray, House Republicans have attacked the execution of the search warrant of Mar-a-Lago last August as a, quote, unprecedented raid. Would you consider the execution of the search warrant at Mar-a-Lago a raid?
I would not call it a raid. I would call it the execution of a lawful search warrant.
Can you describe how the search was executed?
Well, we had the case team, follow its standard procedure. It has sometimes been described as a SWAT operation. It was not. There was no SWAT involvement. But beyond that, I think I want to be really careful with getting too far into the details now that this case is not only in the hands of a special counsel, but more importantly, in my view, in front of the court. And I learned a long time ago as a line prosecutor and defense lawyer to respect the court process is where I think we should speak.
Were particular steps taken to ensure that the execution of the search warrant did not draw undue attention?
I think there were steps along those lines, yes, sir.
Can you name a couple of them?
Well, among other things, we did not have people coming in so-called raid jackets, which is often something you would see.
So in other words, the FBI agents executing the search wore plain clothes so as not to attract undue attention. The FBI waited until Trump had left Mar-a-Lago to execute the search. Is that correct?
Yes.
And Chairman Jordan has attacked the DOJ and the FBI for not attempting to get the documents back from Trump consensually before turning to a search warrant. I want to walk through all the opportunities Trump had to produce these documents and have a series of yes or no questions. The National Archives, also known as NARA, first asked Trump to return all presidential records to them in May 2021, correct?
Well, I don't remember the date, but I remember there was a request by the National Archives.
And then throughout 2021, NARA made repeated follow-up requests, but still Trump replied to comply, correct?
The truth. I would have fell for that 3 years ago, man, when somebody else told me the same thing. All this evidence is out. I don't understand how folks want to keep overlooking it. It seems like y'all want us to go down. Y'all hate your country so much that you want this shit to go down. It's ridiculous. And they wonder why I got daggone. This generation of black Americans, man, I'm so disappointed at. I mean, we're gullible as shit. All this information. What about now? I'm showing which part. Maybe I need to turn it up a little bit more. I don't want it to turn too high, pick up all my background and stuff. You know, black folks never. I know black folks never trusted the FBI. I'm not saying I trust these motherfuckers. These motherfuckers lied to us for a couple of years now. They don't lie for us for a couple of decades now. You know what I'm saying? That ain't the point. It's like how all of a sudden whatever information comes out first, that's what black people go with, they stay with, and sit here and defend it. They don't want to hear nothing else that comes out. These guys has barely started talking, and we got debunking all kind of shit goddamn going on in the chat, when actually a lot of these questions are the first time they asking it. This is a live show right now. We're about 2 hours behind. You know what I'm saying? I understand what you knew before that. I knew the same thing. I have people tell me the same things. But unless you hearing the whole thing out, we never going to get to the bottom of this if we just keep following the same ass fucking propaganda. Because evidently it's something wrong. Look around in your fucking country. Something is fucking wrong. It's like all we want to do is sit back and go back and forth to each other. I'm a guy who's bringing the information, putting things in front of folks who might not be looking at this stuff, and not just to believe everything that you see on these damn news channels. So we gonna sit back, we gonna listen. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, have your comments, but all this bashing and stuff, I'm also trying to teach. You know what I'm saying? Teaching ain't putting up the same goddamn garbage that we already know. Well, I know it's a fucking lie. Y'all don't say it's a lie. I mean, I guess that depends on what side you're sitting on. I'm not sitting on no side, I'm sitting in the middle. Just like some folks say they sitting in the middle, but they defend the left more than a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? It's not making sense to me. These motherfuckers is goddamn clan in my goddamn eyes, and they got us trapped. And I refuse to goddamn sit here and goddamn stay quiet on a lot of this shit, knowing this shit. Now, if y'all want to get on the back of the truck and goddamn head to the plantation, be my guest. Not me. I'm a mad militant, goddammit. I'm just saying. But I also stated too that I'm not an expert in none of this stuff. I'm gathering the stuff as I go. A lot of stuff I do know. And I do know when somebody is fucking lying to me. You know what I'm saying? Already I know Wray is lying. But I still want to hear him out. You know what I'm saying? This motherfucker lying, and I know I want to hear him out. Just like a lot of folks we hear out, and we still don't like them. I mean, and I hate to say it, a lot of them be a lot of my people, which is disappointing. You know what I'm saying? I can go down the list of the Don Lemons, the Roland Martins, and so on. You know what I'm saying? I'm not settling for that shit. I'm not settling for race baiting. I'm not settling for a whole bunch of bullshit. If Jim Jordan is a proven lie, I don't heard that another time in this chat. Please pull out the proof. You know what I'm saying? Anything that I've been talking about in the last 3 years, I'm bringing to this channel as my proof. I had folks tell me, where is that? Where is that? Even though I put it in their lap, I'm bringing it to the channel now. And basically put myself in position to get my channel shut down again. Trying to bring you the information. So, I mean, we have to sit back and listen to all sides. Not come in and, even though I said I don't like the FBI director from the get-go, because I already know he's lying. But still, I'm not going to dislike him so much that I'm not going to hear him out. Matt Gaetz, I kind of rock with Matt Gaetz a little bit. Margie Green, now you can throw her off the bus. You know what I'm saying? You can throw her off the bus. On the next corner doing 52. That daggone shit. But let's get this back going. I just had to vent that out. You know what I'm saying? I do get a lot of emotional about this because this is a representative of us. A lot of this shit that's going on is going to affect us in the long run. Not even the long run, in the short run. Truthfully, I'm looking at we probably got, about 15 months of on our country left. That's how I'm fucking looking at this shit. If you don't see it that way, maybe you're looking at the wrong side and blinded by a bunch of bullshit. But yeah, we got about 15 months to go. You know what I'm saying? The first one was a warning shot. They got DT out of the office. That was the warning shot. Now he's out the fucking way. They coming after your ass next. I'm just saying.
Correct? Yes, I would refer you to the pleadings that have been filed in court that lay out in better detail than I could hear.
In fact, it was not until January 2022, after NARA warned Trump that failing to return documents could violate the Presidential Records Act, that Trump finally produced 15 boxes of documents to it, correct?
Again, I would just refer to our court filings, which go into great detail about all this.
And even these 15 boxes did not contain all the documents Trump was required to return, correct?
That's my recollection, but again, I'll refer
So in May 2022, a grand jury had to actually subpoena Trump for the missing documents, correct?
The same answer.
And Trump was then present on June 3rd when his attorneys handed over another folder of documents and a certification that all classified material had been returned, correct?
Again, I just want to stick with what's in the court filings. That sounds right to me, but I really want to be careful to stay within the four corners.
But the certification was false, right? Even then, Trump had not returned all classified material, correct?
I think that is part of the indictment.
He had additional documents hiding in his bathroom, in his storage room, in his storage units, etc., yes?
Again, I think that's part of the indictment.
And so finally, DOJ and FBI were required to obtain a search warrant to obtain the classified documents that had not been retained, correct?
Same answer.
The documents retrieved during that search included 69 marked confidential, 98 secret, and 30 top secret. Is that correct?
Same answer.
So to sum up, President Trump had many, many chances to voluntarily comply with FBI and DOJ's request. Instead, he made the choice to keep these highly classified defense and national security documents, apparently because he wanted a souvenir. I find myself in the strange position of agreeing with former Attorney General Bill Barr's statement that Trump brought this on himself, and I would add that it's absurd that House Republicans are attacking the FBI and DOJ for doing their job and ensuring that no person is above the law. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Kentucky is recognized for 5 minutes.
I thank the chairman. Director Wray, in light of information provided to us about the FBI's investigation of the January 6th pipe bombs, in an interview with Assistant Director Stephen D'Antuono, Chairman Jordan and I sent you a letter a month ago. Some of the information that we found in that interview was that phone data that could have helped to identify the pipe bomber was corrupted, was unusable. He also wasn't sure who found or how the second bomb was found at the DNC. Do you know how the second bomb was found at the DNC? And when do you plan on answering our letter?
Well, as to the letter, I will work with the department to make sure we can figure out what information we can provide. As you know, this is a very active, ongoing investigation, and there are some restrictions on that, but we will do
we
our
can
best
handle
to respond.
classified information, and we fund your department, and so you need to provide that.
It's not, respectfully, it's not an issue of classification. It's an issue of commenting on ongoing criminal investigations, which is something that by longstanding department policy we are restricted in doing. And in fact, the last administration actually strengthened those policies partly
That's
because—
not our policy, though, and we fund you, so let's move on. Do you know how the second pipe bomb— can you tell us how the second pipe bomb was found at the DNC?
Again, I'm not going to get into that here.
900 days ago is when this happened, and you said you had total confidence we'd apprehend the subject. We've found video that looks like somebody, a passerby, miraculously found this pipe bomb at the DNC and then notified the police. Miraculously, I say, because It was specifically the precise time to cause the maximum distraction from the events going on at the Capitol. Can you show this video that we have, please? I'd like to know if the director has seen this.
Remember, folks don't believe in
This is
video.
somebody
Ain't that right,
with a
D-True?
mask on, wearing a hat.
Are you gonna believe this
They're
video
walking in
with
front
you?
of the DNC, which is out of the view on the right-hand side. You'll see him come into view. He goes to one police car. He goes to another police car. He's holding a backpack. He's got a mask on. He's talking to the police. And within a minute, they start scrambling. You'll see the camera turn to the pipe bomb, the location of the pipe bomb. By the way, that's, I believe the Metro police are now getting out of their car, and that's Vice President-elect's detail in the black SUV, I believe, parked about 30 feet from the pipe bomb, eating lunch. Okay, now we go over to the location of the pipe bomb. The cameras are scrambling. It appears to me that that's not a coincidence, that the person with the backpack who walked by that bench and then went up to the police and the detail didn't do that accidentally. They had a purpose in mind, and that what transpired after that was the result of information that person gave to them. If that person found the pipe bomb, would they be a suspect?
Well, again, I don't want to speculate about specific individuals. I will tell you that we have done thousands of interviews, reviewed something like 40,000 video files, of which this is one, assessed 500 something.
My bad, y'all. It seemed like when I hit one button, something else happened. Yeah, I had to stop it for a minute. I was trying to type in the chat and it minimized my damn screen. I don't know what the hell going on, but I'm back together now. Let's roll.
Records with no geographical boundaries for anybody that was a Bank of America customer. Is that true?
Well, what I do know is that a number of business community partners all the time, including financial institutions, share information with us about possible criminal activity. And my understanding is that that's fully lawful. In the specific,
did you ask for that information?
In the specific instance that you're asking about, my understanding is that that information was shared with field offices for information only, but then recalled to avoid even the appearance of any kind of overreach. But my understanding is that that's a fully lawful process.
Was there a warrant involved?
My understanding should not even be allowed coming from the director of the FBI. He's supposed to have proof. You're supposed to have everything written down. You're supposed to be in order, sir. You're in front of the damn committee. It's about time to start getting on his head right now. Let's go.
Again, my understanding is that the institution in question shared information with us, as happens all the time.
Did you request the information?
I can't speak to the specifics.
Okay, well, we've got an email where it says the FBI did give the search queries to Bank of America, and Bank of America responded to the...
How come every time, and for the people who watch these committee meetings with me and stuff, how come every time it seems like when they don't know the answer or they playing stupid, these people in the chairs straight pull out straight evidence? That's what I've been seeing the last couple of months as far as me really digging down into these. You know what I'm saying? I had my suspicions before, and like they said, a lot of us was just shut down. You know what I'm saying? Anything conservative was shut down. So, now that you're seeing this and you see that they have no answers for none of this, how come these people in the chair can pull up these people's phones conversations, put the whole message up on the damn board where everybody can see it, and then all of a sudden they remember? So let's see where this one go. Let's see if you remember after this evidence come out.
The FBI and gave over this information without a search warrant. Do you believe there's any limitation on your ability to obtain gun purchase data or purchase information for people who aren't suspects from banks without a warrant?
Well, now you're asking a legal question, which I would prefer to defer to the lawyers, since I'm not practicing as one right now, including the department. But what I will tell you is that my understanding is that the process by which we receive information from business community partners across a wide variety of industries, including financial institutions, sharing information with us about possible criminal activity is something that is fully lawful under current federal law.
It may be lawful, but it's not constitutional. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The gentlelady from California is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Crystal, you're definitely going to have to explain that one to me. I mean, now we got the white nationalists being brought up again. Please point these people out. Please point them out. That's worse than the Proud Boys. But all of a sudden, man, forget it. Man, where's the proof, man?
Chairman, and thank you, Director Wray, for being here. I think it's actually sad that the majority is engaging in conspiracy theories and efforts to try and discredit one of the premier law enforcement agencies in the United States in the effort to try and, without really any evidence, make the case that the FBI is somehow opposed to conservative views. In my view, actually, I'm concerned that the FBI has been reluctant to do its job when it comes to the former president. I'd like to ask unanimous consent to put in the record an article from the Washington Post. FBI was
Mr. Crystal, again, why would I want to call you for this? I'd rather call to see how you doing. How's everything out there in California? I don't want to call you for this stuff. Now, we will have our conversation, you know, it will come up, but I wouldn't call you just for this. It's important to me, but it ain't that daggone important, man. Like, I haven't talked to you in a few months, man. I'd rather see how you doing out there and stuff. The hell? No, but I'm fucking with you right now.
for more than a year.
Without objection.
Director Wray, would you disagree with the premise of this article that the FBI delayed in looking at Mr. Trump himself? The January 6th committee, and I was a member, did find that the ex-president was the center of a wide range.
Damn, my thing is acting up right now. But yeah, yes, D Sizzle, you need your panel, dog. You need your panel because the way it seemed like the way it seemed to me, you know what I'm saying. You have a lot of information that need to be heard. When we was back in the days with the round table, there was a lot of information I was exposing and stuff when I was on Jordan's show. Y'all didn't want to hear it. You know what I'm saying? And I felt it from him every time he talked. You know what I'm saying? That he didn't want to hear that shit. So that's kind of like the attitude that I kind of got with if it's anything opposite of what I'm saying, I really don't try to hear it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the treatment that I got. You know what I'm saying? That shit even broke up our fucking crew and shit, dog. You know what I'm saying? So I understand. But like how y'all used to tell me, you need to get your own show, you need to go live, you need to spill this. I'm going live and I'm spilling it. So D Sizzle, if you got information, you got to go live and spill it, dog.
At the ex-president's role in January 6th, starting January 7th or...
Man, y'all made me feel like I was dumb in that damn group.
Well, let me start with, I'm not in the business of kind of commenting or engaging on the truth or falsity of newspaper
with a whole
articles.
lot more evidence.
And in this particular instance, as I'm sure you can appreciate, there is an ongoing, very important ongoing special counsel investigation that's now in court. And so Not only do I not want to talk about the ongoing investigation, the
respect-
internal deliberations related to it are even more sensitive.
I respect that you cannot discuss ongoing investigations. Let me turn to another item. I mean, there's been criticism, and the ranking member went through the scenario leading up to the warrant for the documents at Mar-a-Lago. But I'd like to ask unanimous consent to put an article from the Washington Post. Showdown before the raid, FBI agents and prosecutors argued over Trump.
Objection.
It's pretty clear from this article that there was a resistance on the part of the FBI to actually look at the president or pursue that case vigorously. And although you can't comment on it, the article does suggest that FBI agents want to just close the case because the ex-president made an assertion that a search had been made. Now, we had Mr. D'Antuono in as a witness, and he testified 4 times that the Mar-a-Lago search had adequate probable cause. Do you agree with that statement?
The search had probable cause?
Correct.
Yes.
Thank you. And so you don't have any dispute that there was probable cause for this warrant. I just want to say, before going to my next question, that over and over again, the FBI delayed and showed unprecedented caution before investigating the ex-president, even when there was a potential threat to national security. That's my view. That's very far from the assertion that there was unfair targeting.
Can I, on that point, if I may, while I can't discuss any specific investigation, my expectation for all of our investigations, repeatedly communicated to all of our people, and this is especially important in sensitive investigations, is that our folks take great pains to be rigorous, professional, objective, following all our policies and procedures, and do the work in the right way. And sometimes that's frustrating to others.
My time is almost up, and I want to ask you another question. In the Senate hearing, in response to Senator Wyden's question of whether the FBI is currently purchasing Americans' location data, you indicated that it was limited to data derived from internet advertising. It's since been reported that the FBI has admitted it bought U.S. location data. Is the FBI purchasing location data from commercial sources without a warrant?
This is an area that requires a little more precision and context for me to be able to answer that fully, so have my staff follow back up with you so that I make sure that I don't leave something important out.
I'll just close with the FBI had 3.4 million backdoor searches of the FISA database without a warrant in 2021. Can you say whether the FBI is continuing to search the FISA database without a warrant for Americans?
Well, if you're asking about our use of 702 queries,
I am.
Those are, there is no warrant requirement under the Fourth Amendment for those queries. It's fairly well settled. The 3.4 million figure that you're talking about, I guess I would say a couple things. One, that's not 3.4 million people. That's 3.4 million search terms or query terms. Second, that's not those are not queries in violation of rules. Those are just queries under the
My time has expired, but the committee will look into the warrant requirement later.
Sure will. You sure will. The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
The American people need to understand what just happened. My Democrat colleague just asked the director of the FBI whether or not they are buying information about our fellow Americans, and the answer is, well, we'll just have to get back to you on that. It sounds really complicated, but I have other questions. I'm sitting here with my father. I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. I am sitting here waiting for the call with my father. Sounds like a shakedown, doesn't it, Director?
I'm not going to get into commenting on that.
You seem deeply uncurious about it, don't you? Almost suspiciously uncurious. Are you protecting the Bidens?
Absolutely not. The FBI
well, you
does
won't
not
answer the
and has
question.
no
Hold on.
interest in
You won't answer the
protecting
question
anyone
about whether or not
politically.
that's a shakedown, and everybody knows why you won't answer it. Because to the millions of people who will see this, they know it is. And your inability to acknowledge that is deeply revealing about you. But let's go from the uncurious to the downright nosy. How many illegal FISA queries have occurred under your leadership of the FBI?
Well, there are reports that have come out with different numbers about compliance incidents.
More than 1 million illegal ones? Because that's what the Inspector General said. The Inspector General said that in the 3.4 million of these queries, more than 1 million were in error. Do you have any basis to disagree with that assessment by the Inspector General?
I'm not sure actually that's a correct characterization of the Inspector General's findings on that.
Well, the internet will remind you of
but
that in moments. But let's now go to what the court said. The court said it was over 200,000 that have occurred on your watch. Do you have any basis to disagree with that assessment?
Again, I don't have the numbers as I sit here right now. What I can
Seems
tell
like
you,
a number you should know. How many times the FBI is breaking the law under your watch, especially if it's like over 1 million, to not know that number? And I'm worried about your veracity on the subject as well. Play the video.
Letters for investigation of the Capitol. I don't believe FISA is remotely implicated in our investigation.
So there, Senator Lee's asking you whether or not FISA was in any way involved in your January 6th investigation, and you say no. Was that truthful?
I said that I did not believe it was.
Okay, so now let's pull up what the court said, which was something a little different than what you said. So here, nope, that's not the right one. Yeah, here we go. Right there, it says, the government has reported additional significant violations of the querying standard, including several relating to the January 6, 2021 breach of the Capitol. So I guess the question, Director Wray, is did you not know when you were answering these questions that the FBI was engaging in these illegal searches, or did you perjure yourself to Senator Lee?
I certainly didn't perjure myself. At the time that I testified in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, I didn't have that piece of information. I will add...
Well, that was a court order. You didn't have that piece of information because the court hadn't yet rendered a judgment. Did you not know when you gave the untruthful answer before Senator Lee that this was going on?
It was a truthful answer. I did not believe FISA had been involved in the January 6th
But it was. So you didn't... The answer is the FBI has broken so bad that people can go and engage in queries that when you come before the Congress to answer questions, you're like blissfully ignorant. You're blissfully ignorant as to the unlawful queries. You're blissfully ignorant as to the Biden shakedown regime. And it just seems like it gets into a kind of a creepy place as well. Go to our next image on what the court said. Like, just so the American people realize, the court has smacked you down, ruling FBI personnel apparently conducted queries for improper personal reasons. People were looking themselves up, they were looking their ex-lovers up. Who has been held accountable or fired as a consequence of the FBI using the FISA process as their like creepy personal snoop machine?
There have been instances in which individuals have had disciplinary action and who are no longer with it. I can't get into it here, but we can follow back up with you.
But don't you see that that's kind of the thing, Director Wray, that you preside over the FBI that has the lowest level of trust in the FBI's history. People trusted the FBI more when J. Edgar Hoover was running the place than when you are. And the reason is because you don't give straight answers. You give answers that later a court deems aren't true. And then at the end of the day, you won't criticize an obvious shakedown when it's directly in front of us. And it appears as though you're whitewashing the conduct of corrupt people.
Respectfully, Congressman, in your home state of Florida, the number of people applying to come work for us and devote their lives working for us is up over 100%.
We're deeply proud of them, and they deserve better than you.
Time of the gentleman has expired. The gentleman from Tennessee is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Director Wray. I thank you for continuing to serve with all of these attempts to sully your name, suggest you've committed crimes, when you've done an excellent job as FBI Director. I don't agree with everything you've done, but mostly I do, and I think the FBI is our premier law enforcement agency, and I support law enforcement. attack the FBI is to attack law enforcement in general. A few days after Mar-a-Lago, there was some individual went after the Cincinnati headquarters of the FBI. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you think that came about?
So the incident that you're asking about was obviously deeply disturbing. We had an individual wearing a tactical vest, armed with an AR-style rifle and a nail gun, who attempted to forcibly enter and attack our Cincinnati field office. A subsequent review of the subject's devices and online postings identified a pretty striking anti-FBI, anti-federal law enforcement hostility. He was calling on others to kill federal law enforcement, claiming that he felt he was fighting in his words, civil war. And it's unfortunately part of a broader phenomenon that we have seen, not just against the FBI, and this is important to add, but against law enforcement all across the country. Not just against law enforcement professionals themselves, which is appalling enough, but calling for attacks against their families, which is truly despicable.
And that man eventually was captured and eliminated, was he not?
Yes.
A few days later, was the Arizona FBI department the subject of armed violence, or not violence, but armed protesters?
Well, I know that our Phoenix field office has had a number of very concerning security incidents where people attempted to attack or breach the facility. I can't remember the dates of when that happened. But
all of this has happened kind of in the same sphere. It's been information that's been put out on social media and in just in general, and by members of the Congress, questioning the FBI, questioning.
Take me a small intermission to choke that black girl in the back still sitting there with a mask on. Did she know it's over? It wasn't as serious as they said it was. I mean, it was serious for those who had complications, but why is she sitting there looking like a muzzled dog? I have no idea, man. That shit just looked funny now. Okay, back to the show.
Law enforcement in general, and this has had a deleterious effect on the safety of FBI officials, and you said others like justice. There was a story the other day, I believe, about people involved in the prosecution of the former president and threats to them, the DOJ personnel as well as FBI. Is that something that's going on presently? Is there efforts to have a unit at the FBI maybe look into how to protect and defend law enforcement personnel who are threatened with violence?
we did stand up a whole dedicated unit to focus on threats to FBI individuals, FBI employees, and FBI facilities because of the uptick that we saw over that time period. The
January 6th, was beyond a weaponization of government. It was a nuclearization of government against the government. I believe I heard that you said that you didn't have any prior notice or reason to believe that there would be such an event on January 6th. Is that correct?
We did not, to my knowledge at least, have prior knowledge of an attempt, a violent overthrow and breach of the Capitol building itself. Certainly we were concerned about and put out a number of products, intelligence products, to partners and others warning of the potential for violence more generally on that date.
So there have been, I think Tucker Carlson and some of the members' colleagues on the other side of the aisle have said that Wray Epps was a secret government agent helping encourage this crime so as to make the president look bad. Do you have any knowledge of Wray Epps being a secret government agent?
No. I will say this notion that somehow the violence at the Capitol on January 6th was part of some operation orchestrated by FBI sources and agents is ludicrous and is a disservice to our brave, hardworking, dedicated men and women.
Director, I agree with you. I think the FBI has some of the most talented law enforcement people in our nation and in the world, and they are concerned about safety. They tend to, as I understand it, lean Republican, but they do their job down the line. and that's what they're supposed to do. I'm happy we have the FBI operating in Memphis and other places to work with our police departments and joint units to protect our citizens, and I thank you for your service to the United States. And I yield back my time.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you. Director, I'm going to follow up on my colleague from Memphis. How many individuals were either FBI employees or people that the FBI had made contact with were in the January 6th entry of the Capitol and surrounding area?
So I really...
Didn't that guy look like the old Speaker of the House?
need to be careful.
People that the FBI had made contact with were
like
in the
Boehner.
January 6th entry of the Capitol and surrounding area.
So I really need to be careful here talking about where we have or have not used confidential human sources.
Was there one or
January
more?
6th
Was there
or
one or more individuals that would fit that description on January 6th?
Okay, usually I let this thing run an hour before I start interjecting, but what is he supposed to be saying here on the committee floor? It seems like he's trying to duck out of all his questions. You have nothing for nothing. You just gonna sit there, and we pay this motherfucker, and he has no answers for nothing. I can tell they gonna make me hot this what you call it.
That were in or around the Capitol.
I believe there is a filing in one of the January 6 cases that can provide a little more information about this, and I'm happy to see if we can follow back a couple of years.
I just want an answer. Was there one or more? I mean, you would know if there was at least one individual who worked for the FBI who entered the Capitol on that day.
I can't, again, I just can't speak to that here, but I'm happy to get the court filing that...
Look, it's been 2 years, and you're now come before us. The gentleman asks these questions, makes all kinds of insinuations, and you nod your head yes, and then I ask you simply, was there one or more? And you won't answer that. So I'm going to make the assumption that there was more than one, more than 5, more than 10, and that you're ducking the question because you don't want to answer for the fact that you had at least one and somehow missed understanding that some of the individuals were very dangerous and that there were others inciting individuals to enter the Capitol after others broke windows. So I'm just going to move on because I think it is time to move on past January 6th. I just, seems that the other side won't. You're a near cabinet level individual. You enjoy a term in Senate confirmation. Do you feel comfortable speaking to other members, either cabinet level or sub-cabinet level, when appropriate, to resolve problems within the government?
Absolutely.
Okay. And so when the FBI censored the United States government, you wouldn't have to just take it down by calling Meta or Google, would you?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I'm following the question.
Are you familiar with the official verified Russian language account of the United States Department of State that was taken down at your agency's request?
That doesn't ring a bell as I sit here right now, no.
Okay, well, now you have something to take back and look at. Okay. Because in fact, in this bundle that SBU constantly was submitting to various agencies was in fact a Russian language statement of the government. Literally, you took down the free speech of the Department of State.
So,
yes, go ahead.
You mentioned SBU. I'm not sure we're talking about the same thing, but I will endeavor to provide a little more context, at least as to SBU.
Yes.
I believe what you may be referring to, but I'm not sure we're talking about the same thing, is that when Russia invaded Ukraine, the Security Service of Ukraine, the SBU, which is a long-standing good partner of the FBI, asked us for help on a whole range of things. And one of those things was to contact U.S. companies on their behalf because the Russians, the invasion, had cut off Ukrainians' communications. And so we did pass through information from the SBU to social media.
Are you also familiar with the fact that President Zelensky has had to clean house at the SBU?
I know there have been a number of personnel changes.
Okay. Well, we'll follow up with this in more detail. The question I have for you is, you're the premier law enforcement operation, and you're a former Department of Justice, high-ranking executive at all levels. So would you agree that the job of the FBI is criminal investigation?
Is criminal investigation and to protect the country from national security threats, those two things.
So the idea that you take information and you have it taken down, use your authority and the leverage you have to have Meta, Google, Facebook, or Facebook being Meta, or Twitter, take down people's information on things like where COVID came from. Where do you find the national security interest in that? Where do you find the interest in free speech of American citizens being taken down? And I repeat, free speech of American citizens. Where do you have that authority?
So we don't ask social media companies to censor information or suppress information when it comes to national security threats, certainly. So what we do is alert them when some other intelligence agency gives us information about a foreign intelligence service being behind some account. We will call social media companies' attention to that. But at the end of the day, we're very clear that it's up to the social media companies to decide whether to do something about it or not.
The suggestion of the most powerful law enforcement operation is not a suggestion. It is, in fact, effectively an order. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Georgia is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are here today because MAGA Republicans will do anything to protect Donald Trump, their savior, no matter how unfounded or dangerous it may be to do so. Welcome to the legislative arm of the Trump re-election campaign. A grand jury found probable cause that, among other crimes, Trump illegally kept highly sensitive national security documents which could put our country and others and our sources in danger if they got out, and which photographs show Trump kept those records in bathrooms, showers, closets, and in the Mar-a-Lago ballroom. MAGA Republicans are afraid that the justice system might hold Trump accountable for his actions. So to protect him, Republicans are trying to intimidate FBI officials. And in case that does not work, Republicans are trying their hardest to discredit the FBI in the eyes of the American
I ain't gonna lie.
public.
I don't even like this nigga right here. This is a
They
nigga.
tried to
He's
make
not a black man,
Americans
he's a nigga.
distrust their election
In a high
system.
position.
And now that the FBI and the Justice Department have sought to hold Trump to the same standard any other American citizen would be held to, MAGA Republicans are telling Americans not to trust the FBI. To protect Trump, Republicans are trying to distract us from the real work that the FBI does every day, which is fighting violent criminals, child predators, and fighting domestic terrorists and extremists so as to protect our democracy and our national security. And even worse, MAGA Republicans are stirring up threats that pose a danger to the safety of FBI employees. It's past time that Republicans realize the consequences of their words and put the good of this country over politics. Now, Director Wray, I want to thank you for your service during a time of unprecedented travail. Director Wray, you were a partner at an international law firm before you took a drastic pay cut to accept the job of FBI director. Isn't that correct?
Yes, that's something my wife reminds me of from time to time.
And but let me ask you this, sir. And you took this office after Trump fired the former FBI director Jim Comey, correct?
Yes, sir.
And did you contact the Trump administration to offer yourself for this job, or did the administration recruit you for the job?
They contacted me and asked me if I would be willing to consider taking on the role.
So Trump handpicked you to be the FBI director.
Yes.
And he expected you to do what he wanted you to do, correct?
Well, that I can't speak to. I can tell you the same thing I told him,
put it
which
like
is
this.
that I'm going to do this job by the book.
He's unhappy with you now, isn't he?
I'll let him speak for himself.
Well, I think a lot of his acolytes here reflect his intent at this particular time. Director Wray, are you aware that MAGA Republicans have repeatedly called for the FBI to be defunded?
I have heard some of that language.
In fact, Republicans on this very committee have...
I gotta pause the brother right there. He gets on my nerves with this Trump shit. Because I know most of y'all don't like him in the chat. You know what I'm saying? But when he's actually throwing the shot at Trump, he's actually throwing the shot at you. Unless you don't see yourself as an American citizen. Now, if you don't see yourself as a citizen, then I expect, you know what I'm saying? But anytime that they trying to take this dude down, throw shots on him, blame him for shit, they doing that to you because he was a representative of you. And they hated that. That's the reason why they try to make you hate him, because he was a representative of you. Now, any of my two brothers in the chat want to dispute that, you know what I'm saying? You know? But that's my opinion and how I see it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of things we took wrong that they gave us. You know what I'm saying? I almost fell for the okie doke. You know what I'm saying? Luckily, I opened my eyes soon enough with the information that I had from a lot of different directions. You know what I'm saying? But anytime these people throw any shot at this dude, they throwing a shot at you. I know that. That's the reason why I'm stepping up and pointing this stuff out. Because soon as they done with him, everything that they went after him for, they coming after you for. They don't want this country to no longer to exist. They want to shut it down. Biden said we live too good. What president is going to say his people live too good? You know what I'm saying? He also said he wanted to put us back in chains. I'm not sure in what reference did he mean that in. We can make up anything, come up with all kind of stuff to say around it. But still, the word change should not have came out of his fucking mouth. But I don't know, this guy here, he lets me down by how he lets me down by how he keep what's called, all of them let me down when they throw the Trump shit, no matter if you black or white, because that means you anti country. You're not for your country at all. A lot of the stuff you're doing it for yourself because you have investments somewhere else. Like I mentioned, like, what was it, 2 weeks ago, I mentioned, a lot of these people got to pay for these seats that they sitting in. I believe Matt Gaetz said he paid like $75,000 to get the seat that he was in, or get the seat that he's in. $75,000 to have this job. I'm pretty sure they make up for it after they put it out. You know what I'm saying? We probably get that back in a year. You know what I'm saying? But that's how serious these people are taking this. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these folks ain't elected. A lot of these folks were just put here in the positions. Like, who voted for this dude? Like the dude yesterday. Who voted for this dude? Who sent you? Why you get to talk so much? Who you representing? Do you just have a name tag with nothing under it? Like I was seeing yesterday. Like I see Mr. Cohen. Is this Mr. Cohen? No. The little lady in front of him got the thing covered up. Well, I try to catch his name. Unless DC, you know his name. Or Truth. Stop what, man? I'm not doing nothing wrong. I'm just coming from the direction that I'm seeing this from. You know what I'm saying? And D-Sizzle will tell you, he's here in the chat right now. I go to sleep watching news. So a lot of this stuff that I'm hearing haven't been sounding right for the last couple of years. When we have the real prophets, you know what I'm saying, in the community, who's throwing up the goddamn red flag, who's putting their hand on the button, hitting the fucking button, and people won't listen, I mean, don't know what else. I don't know what else to say about what's called. Yeah. It's like our community lost. They lost something. It's like people can be sitting here pointing this out, and I mean, going and actually go at each other over this shit. You know what I'm saying? Instead of really opening their eyes and truly trying to understand. I'm only gonna make jokes about people who actually said something. If I see somebody say something that I disagree with or I find funny, I might make a video about it. But all this hatred, you know what I'm saying? Just because of one person that actually stood up for you, and I say stood up for you because most people don't even know what he stood up for. They still blind to the fact of what was really going on in the world, not just this country, in the world. But still, that's like DC, you remember when Dr. Khalid well, is he a doctor? Dr. Khalid Muhammad said, I believe it was the mark of the beast 666. I believe it was that documentary where he stated most people just want to argue and have no idea what they're arguing about. When somebody says something, it's like, how can you argue if you don't even know what's really going on? I said it wrong, but it was something along that lines. He says don't know what I'm talking about, but it's like there's no need to argue if you don't really know what's going on. If a lot of this information haven't been heard, there shouldn't be no arguing going on. You should be sitting back listening and then weigh your options, not with your feelings, but with the facts that is given. Your feelings is what messes everything up. And I almost got caught up in that years ago. You know what I'm saying? I would have been a perfect Black Lives Matter member. Because I was running off of feelings. But you can't always move that way. You gotta elevate. You know what I'm saying? You gotta level yourself up. Not saying that's not what y'all did. I'm just saying for people who's listening and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Always listen to both sides and then you weigh out the options by what you're seeing around you. And on my scale, a lot of these, is that Adam Schiff next to him? A lot of these motherfuckers is full of shit. I still don't know that Matt Gaetz thing. No, y'all got me lost on that. Was a senator. That's which called? Nah, he actually does which called on he did a interview on I want to say Newsmax, where he stated that he paid $75,000 to get in the seat. It came out of his own mouth. Salute, Tanya Renee. Thank you for joining me today. Which code? But nah, DC. He said that out of his own mouth on I believe it was Newsmax that I seen a quick interview. I'm not sure if it was Newsmax. It was one of those sources, but he said this out of his own mouth. It might have been Fox News. No, because I don't really think they're messing with Fox too much anymore. But no, I think it was Newsmax. Yeah, these dudes pay for these damn seats and shit. So a lot of them I just don't take serious, especially when they come out trying to deflect or confuse the people's mind about what they're seeing. Like, everybody's not lying about you. That's like if somebody, like, who said that? Cat Williams. If somebody called you a crackhead and 20 other people call you a crackhead, you a crackhead. These motherfuckers are lying. I guess so. Now if that's true, now y'all can jump on that one. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't know it was a crime. I thought that's how the procedure go. But that's exactly what he stated. Damn. So he committed a crime. He confessed to the crime. If it's a crime, you know what I'm saying? Let me get back to the show here. Well, let's listen to this damn Negro.
Said that your institution should be dismantled. Isn't that correct?
Well, I think certain members have.
And one member even tweeted, quote, defund.
So do you think he paid to get put on the card then?
Quote, Republicans should defund the bureaucracy, end quote. And a third told the press that he thinks the FBI, quote, needs to be split up and moved out into pieces, end quote. Those are direct quotes and only a small sample of what's out there. Can you briefly describe for us what the effect would be on our national security and on our domestic tranquility if the FBI were to be defunded or dismantled?
Well, certainly it would be disastrous for 38,000 hardworking career law enforcement professionals and their families, but more importantly, in many ways, it would hurt our great state and local law enforcement partners who depend on us every day to work with them on a whole slew of challenging threats. It would hurt the American people, neighborhoods and communities all across this country, the people we're protecting from cartels, violent criminals, gang members, predators, foreign and domestic terrorists, cyber attacks, I could go on and on. The people it would help would be those same violent gangs and cartels, foreign terrorists, Chinese spies, hackers, and so forth.
Time of the gentleman has expired. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Colorado for 5 minutes.
I thank the chairman. Director Wray, thank you. Thank you for your work with the FBI, and thank you for your history of work in law enforcement. You started out as an AUSA, and I'm getting this information from Wikipedia, the great font of knowledge in the digital age, and so I'm assuming that it's true, but you started out as an AUSA. You were nominated by Republican President Bush for the position of Assistant Attorney General in the Criminal Division at the Department of Justice, and you were confirmed by a Republican Senate, if I am correct in that.
Yes, by unanimous voice vote.
And you were then nominated by Republican President Donald Trump to be the FBI director, and again confirmed by the Republican Senate for that position.
Yes, I think there were only 5 votes against me, and they were all from Democrats.
According to Wikipedia, you're still a registered Republican, and I hope you don't change your party affiliation after this hearing is over. But I want to thank you. I want to thank you for leading an agency, as you mentioned in your opening statement, that protects Americans from foreign terrorists, that an agency that protects Americans from spies from China and Russia, and cybercrime and public corruption and organized crime and drug cartels and human traffickers and white-collar criminals. And I want to thank you and the FBI for protecting law-abiding Americans from the evil that exists all around us. Director Wray, you know this, but it's worth mentioning again anyway. The FBI doesn't protect America because this is a beautiful country. It doesn't protect America just because of the citizens who live in this country. You and the FBI protect America because of the values that we hold, because of our constitutional republic, because this is a special place, and the rest of the world knows just how special this place is. Director Wray, I'm concerned about FISA. I'm not concerned about FISA in a partisan way, and frankly, I am not in favor of defunding the FBI, nor am I in favor of splitting up the FBI, nor am I in favor of using the Holman Rule for the FBI director. I'm concerned about FISA because I'm concerned about what makes this place special and the threats to us. And I would love to work with the FBI on how we can protect Americans at the same time protecting the civil liberties of Americans. And that area of FISA is what really concerns me. And I know you have gone to great lengths to try to work with FBI agents on how they access information under 702. And I know that at times it has been successful and at times it has not been successful. But the spirit of FISA and the spirit of our constitutional republic really demands that the FBI culture shift. And it shifts to a place where FBI agents understand that protecting American civil liberties, that protecting the privacy that we all enjoy in this country, even though we screw up, we still enjoy this privacy. And in court, we have the highest burden of proof the world has ever known to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt. And that has to be, that information has to be gathered by the government in a legal in a legal way. And so I fear that we are going to overcorrect on FISA in Congress, that we are going to take away some tools that are necessary because there is a trust factor here that's missing. And I'd love to know how we can draw that line in a way that assures the civil liberties. I agree with my colleague from California, and I don't often agree with folks from California, but I agree with my colleague from California that it is essential that we not get geolocation information from the what I consider criminals at big tech, and that we protect that information for Americans. You as a law enforcement official should not know where I am necessarily unless you have probable cause to get that information. I'm also concerned about the ability of law enforcement, and particularly the FBI, to access information. When I go on the internet and I search for a gun vault or I search for a holster, I don't want the government to know that I own a gun. And I think I have that privacy right to make sure the government doesn't know that I own a gun, or any other information that I search for on the internet, unless you've got probable cause to make that search. And so I want to ask you a question in the last few seconds, and that is, how can you work on the culture in the FBI and help us reach that sweet spot on FISA?
Well, thank you for that. Certainly, we, starting with first principles, try to drive home every day to our entire workforce that our mission is to both protect the American people and uphold the Constitution. And we have, on the issue of FISA, clearly had failures in the past. I've been very plain about that. And we've implemented a whole series of reforms. And if you look at the reports that have started to come out now from the FISA court, from ODNI, from the Justice Department, from others who have looked at the effect of our reforms, over and over again, they are showing significant improvement in compliance. We're talking about the most recent FISA court opinion finding 98% compliance and commending us for moving in the right direction. DOJ report found 99% compliance. Our internal audit found a 14% jump up to 96%. These are all separate reports looking at the impact of our reforms. A lot of the public commentary about our failures, and let's be clear, we have had problems, and those problems are unacceptable, and I'm determined with my leadership team to fix them. But those problems almost entirely predate those reforms, even though some of them have just come out recently. And so we're going to keep working at this. That is not a one and done from my perspective. I recognize that we need to work with the Congress on this issue, but this is an incredibly important tool. As you know from your own public service as a prosecutor as well, this is an incredibly important tool to protect the American people from very serious foreign threats.
Time of the gentleman has expired. The gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Director. I want to pick up where Mr. Buck began as well by thanking you for your service. And I'm glad that we have an opportunity for one Democrat, one Republican in close succession to thank you for your service to the country. You are being attacked and vilified by some of the members of this committee and others outside this committee because the Justice Department and the FBI has had the audacity to investigate serious allegations of criminal conduct by a former president. And I just want a chance to recap how we got to where we are. During the last administration, and for 4 years, the Justice Department took the position, not unprecedented for the department, that a current president could not be indicted. Now, I think that's a flawed matter as a constitutional principle, but nonetheless, that was the view of the Office of Legal Counsel and the Justice Department during the Trump years, that the President of the United States could not be indicted. My Republican colleagues seem to believe that a former president similarly cannot be indicted. That would effectively make a president above the law, beyond the reach of the law. And in my view, there would probably only one thing the founders would find more politically precarious and dangerous to our Constitution than the indictment of a president or former president, and that is the failure to indict a president or former president when they have engaged in criminal conduct. The Justice Department, I believe, as Representative Lofgren, my fellow member of the January 6th committee, asserted, took a very long time to begin the investigation of Donald Trump and his involvement in January 6th. I believe it began with urgency when it came to the foot soldiers who broke into the Capitol and assaulted police officers that day. But at least what I can tell from the public record, the activities of the president himself, some of which were a matter of very much a public record, such as his tape-recorded conversation with the Secretary of State in Georgia, in which he badgered the secretary to, quote, find 11,780 votes that don't exist. While that was the subject of investigation by the local district attorney in Fulton County, did not appear to be the subject of investigation for more than a year by the Justice Department. To me, that is inexplicable. This was never the kind of case in which you could roll up the foot soldiers on the higher-ups because there were multiple lines of effort in this plot to overturn the election. I do think that the appointment of the special counsel has accelerated the investigation of the former president's misconduct, and I think that is a positive step for the department and for the country so we can get resolution to this. But likewise, with Mar-a-Lago, notwithstanding the protests of my colleagues, there were repeated requests by the archives to get those documents back from the former president. And then when those were unsuccessful, there was a grand jury subpoena that was administered. And when that was unsuccessful, and only when that was unsuccessful, and there was evidence that the former president was still withholding highly classified materials, did the FBI go to the step of a search warrant. That was more than a year and a half after those initial requests. This was anything but a rush to judgment in the Mar-a-Lago case. So I believe the department, if anything, has exercised enormous caution, I would say too much caution, in the January 6th committee's work and oversight to proceed against a former president when there are serious and credible allegations of criminal conduct. But I want to thank you for your stewardship during this incredibly difficult time. I don't think there's been a more difficult time for an FBI director. And notwithstanding concerns I have expressed, none of them go to your integrity or your commitment to the country, and I want to thank you for that. Let me ask you about a different topic, although related to January 6th as well. Let me ask you broadly about domestic violent extremism. I offered an amendment in this committee voted down by the Republicans that we should oversee the increasingly dire threat of domestic violent extremism. One of your recent reports underscored the rise of this prevalent threat, and I'd ask you if you would address it today.
So the rise of domestic violent extremism is something that I and we have been identifying for quite some time. It goes back well before January 6th. In fact, a lot of people don't know this, but the Joint Terrorism Task Forces that we hear about so often at the FBI were largely created in response to domestic terrorism, not foreign terrorism. But in my first few years as director, we were identifying this issue more and more, and that's why we elevated in the summer of 2019 racially motivated violent extremism to a national threat priority level. And we saw, I think, about a 40% increase in the number of domestic violent extremism investigations, all before anything to do with January 6th. Obviously, since then, it has continued. But domestic violent extremism cuts across the spectrum from the racially motivated violent extremism, militia violent extremism, anarchist violent extremism, environmental violent extremism, and of course, recently, we've had a lot of violent extremism attacks against pro-life facilities, and we're investigating those. So it really covers a wide spectrum, and what they all have in common is three things: violence or threats of violence, motivated by some ideology, and it varies, in violation of federal criminal law. And that's the domestic violent extremism that I'm talking about when I've identified this phenomenon.
Mr. Chairman, could I request unanimous consent to enter into the record two letters, both from David Weiss, the Trump-appointed U.S. Attorney in Delaware, rebutting allegations concerning partiality in the investigation of the Hunter Biden case. Thank you, Director.
Without objection. Director, what's the difference between a traditional Catholic and a radical traditional Catholic?
I'm not an expert on the Catholic orders.
Well, your FBI wrote a memo talking about radical traditional Catholics. I'm just wondering if you could define it for us.
Well, what I can tell you is you're referring to the Richmond product, which was a single product by a single field office, which as soon as I found out about it, I was aghast and ordered it withdrawn and removed from FBI systems.
You were aghast, then why won't you let us talk to the people who put it together?
We are working on finishing an internal review into what happened
We have
there.
to wait. We, the Congress, and the American people have to wait until you do an internal review. It's not a criminal investigation going on here. An internal review before we can talk to the people who wrote this?
When we finish our internal review, which will be very soon, we will come back
idea how
before
many
the
Catholics
committee
in America?
and provide a briefing on what we found.
Well, we appreciate the briefing, but we want to talk to the people who wrote it. Any idea how many Catholics there are in America, Director?
No, sir.
There's a lot, over 60 million. What percentage of those are radical traditional Catholics, according to the Richmond Field Office of the FBI?
Again, that product is not something that I will defend or excuse. It's something that I thought was appalling and removed it.
Let's read from that product, page 4 of that product. By the way, the copy you gave us, when can we get a copy that didn't have all these redactions on it so we can actually see what the American taxpayers were paying for to see their rights, their First Amendment religious liberty rights attacked? Let me just read from page 4. Provide new opportunities to mitigate extremist threat through outreach to traditional Catholic parishes and the development of sources with the placement and access to report on places of worship. That's pretty fancy language for they're trying to put informants in the parish, in the church. That's what this memorandum said, Director, from one of your field offices. And you won't let us talk to the people who did it. Any response to that?
I didn't know. I was waiting for the question.
No, do you think priests should be informants inside the church, Director?
We do not recruit, open, or operate confidential human sources to infiltrate, target, report.
But that's not what this said. It sounds like you were trying to do it in Richmond, Virginia.
No, sir. No, sir.
You weren't? This didn't happen. You could.
Hold up. Now, my black people in the chat, is what he said a lie? Didn't they hire somebody to take down the Black Panthers? Didn't they hire people to take down the other organizations? Not just these churches and priests and stuff like that. These people have been in the goddamn community. Man, if you don't come 100 miles south, goddamn go. But it's Director Wray lying, man. They don't hire people to take down organizations or put them in place to what's called. Isn't that exactly what they did to the Black Panthers and stuff? See how these fools will lie right to your damn face? I'm on a lot of these lies and stuff. I'm just trying to show y'all some of these lies and stuff. I see what y'all saying in the chat and I'm taking all of it in because all of it is notes to me. D-Sizzle know how I move, man. I'm a tornado of information. I collect all information, I discard what I don't need. You know what I'm saying? At this point, I might need what y'all saying, so I'm collecting. But at this moment here, this dude lying. Where Money Boy's clip at, man? That boy is lying. God daggone. Matter of fact, I'm gonna have to hit you up right after this show, man. I ain't know you was right there. Shit. Word. Man, why ain't you say something? But let's get back to the show.
You can assure us that this didn't happen?
That product did not, to as best as we can tell, result in any investigative action as a result of it. None.
You know what the motivation for this was? Why would they even think about doing this? You know what the motivation was?
Well, again, I think that's what our internal review will find, and I'd rather wait until I hear what the results of that internal
Well, I don't need an
review are.
internal review. I can read the document. I assume you can do the same, because it says right there on the same page. Richmond assesses extremist interest in radical traditional Catholics is likely to increase over the next 12 to 24 months in the run-up to the next general election. Same paragraph. Events in which extremists and radical traditional Catholics might have common cause include legislation, judicial decisions in such areas as abortion rights, immigration, affirmative action, and LGBTQ protections. It's politics. That's the motivation. In the run-up to the next election, and they talk about the border, affirmative action, and abortion rights, it's total politics. I mean, I think it's interesting that we just got a decision from a bunch of Catholics who sit on the United States Supreme Court relative to affirmative action. Politics was the total motivation here, and that's what's scary. That's what's, I think, so frightening, and how this happens, I don't know. And 5 people signed off on it. 5 people, including the Chief Division Counsel at the Richmond Field Office. I'd like to talk to this lawyer. A lot of people in this room went to law school, get a course on the Constitution, talks about the First Amendment.
Hey, D-Truth, I just seen that 60 years ago. But isn't that what you and Gabe was talking about on his show with the JFK thing? Wasn't that like 60 years ago? Is it possible that these motherfuckers could have been dirty all this time? You know what I'm saying? Because that's around the same time frame. Well, no, the Black Panthers was a little bit after JFK, I believe. Or was that the same time frame? It's bad when I can reference stuff from 2,000 years ago and damn 60 years ago. It's like, was that the same time? But I'm just asking.
Amendment, I find that really scary. Again, when do you think we're going to have a chance? How soon are you going to complete this internal investigation so we can talk to these folks who put this together?
I expect us to be able to brief the committee on our internal review later this summer.
Will that briefing include the names of the individuals who put this document together attacking Americans' First Amendment liberty?
I'm not sure yet what it'll include because it's not done yet, but when it is, we'll provide you with an appropriate briefing.
What are you doing to fix it so this doesn't happen again?
Well, we've already started putting in place a number of fixes, and those will be further informed by the results of the review.
What are those fixes? More training, more things, more. It's that same thing you told us on FISA. And while you may have some improvement, you still got 204,000 times the database was illegally searched. So what are the training and procedures you're putting in place?
Well, I'll put the FISA stuff to the side.
I'm just using that as an example of where you've told us the same thing, you fixed something and you haven't.
I do not believe the number that you just invoked on the FISA side is since the reforms, the fixes, as you called them.
Can we get an unredacted?
Post-date the numbers that you're referring to.
Director, can we get an unredacted copy while you're still doing this internal investigation? Can we at least get an unredacted copy of this memorandum?
I will find out if there's more of the document that can be shared with you. We've tried to be very careful in what we redact, and there's always a basis for it. So let me go back and see if there's more that we can provide. But I know my instructions are to be as sparing as possible in the redactions that we provide.
Gentleman from California is recognized.
Director, I think it's quite rich that the guy that has accused you of lawlessness and weaponization is 400 days into violation of his own congressional subpoena over January 6th. Quite rich to me that you're hearing all of these allegations from somebody who won't even respond to a lawful subpoena. But I want to talk more about your workforce because that's where you started. A couple weeks ago at the Bureau, you had Family Day. Can you tell us what Family Day is?
Family Day is an opportunity for employees from really all over the FBI. It tends to be primarily from the nearby geographies because of the trip that they have to make to employees to bring their families into FBI headquarters so that they can see a little bit about the place their loved ones work and why mom or dad is spending so much time away from home.
You see any little kids at Family Day?
Many, many, many. It's an opportunity for us to say thank you to the families. We talk a lot in law enforcement about sacrifice, but the reality is that law enforcement officers and professionals are sacrificing to do what they love. Our families are sacrificing because of who they love.
And what would you say in your experience is the number one worry of a little kid about a mom or dad who is a special agent out in the field?
Obviously, they're worried that their mom or dad won't come home at night because they've been killed. And that, in fact, has happened, unfortunately, all
happened
too
in Fort
often.
Lauderdale a couple years ago, is that right?
Laura Schwarzenberger and Dan Alphen, 2 of our agents killed in a connection.
Not saying that that's not important. I feel sorry for the person who lost their life, but what the hell is that question? You want to talk about some irrelevant questions, D-Truth? What kind of question is this for this moment? Is what's called. I don't care about Family Day at the FBI, what's called. But like I said, I'm a person that listens, so I'm gonna see where it goes. And by the way, I keep y'all posted on the race that's coming up, man, when the ambulance leave, because anytime they put out that kind of money for racing, the ambulance show up because somebody done got hurt, got them out there in the woods and shit. So, back to the show.
Darkest day I've had in this job.
I want to turn your attention to an organization called Marco Polo. It's run by a former Trump aide named Garrett Ziegler. Over the past couple weeks, he has doxed the addresses of a former special agent connected to the Hunter Biden case. He has put up the dates of births and pictures of 2 current special agents who work for you. He has said the name, which I will not say.
I thought so, D-Truth. And if Jordan is a fugitive, with them going after all these Republicans who's trying to tear down this administration with what they're doing, how come they haven't ran after him yet? I don't see none of these allegations popped up of him being a fugitive. Gates got daggone messing with the witch cult. That's one thing I'm noticing as I'm thinking about it. Look, how come they not going after these people and they on the opposite side, just like the guy that y'all don't like? I mean, he's on the same side as the guy that y'all don't like. And they sitting there defending him and trying to help take him down. Wouldn't it be easy to take out that guy's help? Because they can't get 4 or 5 for nothing. It seemed like. They sound like it looked like a bunch of allegations or just suspect in, and then they waste the taxpayers' money, pull this shit all up in court and find out it's nothing. But if these things that y'all saying about these guys on the panel is true, how come they not going after them? It looks real weird with this administration and how they cutting up and acting towards anybody. I think I posted somebody yesterday, a black woman from Georgia, Democrat that jumped ship to Republican, on my community wall. Look at how they treat her. And she was one of them, even before she left the party. You know what I'm saying? So and that was just on things that they were voting on and stuff. I mean, if these guys' allegations are so huge, how come they not going after these folks? I'm just asking. Because it looks odd, man, because they after everything else trying to hold on to power. These guys is pulling up all kind of shit, that laptop shit. You got, well, he ain't in this conversation. You got Rand Paul and shit. He done ran Fauci into hiding. I haven't seen Fauci on TV in a while, but he ran him up out of here. But all these people who's helping out 4 or 5 and still, they not trying to bring them in court. When they probably are easier target. Yeah, I'm aware of that. To me, he did he did a alright job. I mean, but it depends on how you look at it. If people can really explain to me why they hate him, because I mean, right now it's a trend of people finding out stuff about 4 or 5 that was lied about and all that stuff. You can go check out my wall and stuff. These are content creators like me and you. You know what I'm saying? These ain't no big name folks. They might get over 100,000 or something like that of what's called subs and stuff like that. But these are just small people like me and you. They pulling out all these old videotapes, all these people who saying everything opposite than what we heard in the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, all this stuff can't be made up. Have the majority. Hold on, they just got that control. D-sizzle. They just had that. They had full control from that J6 all the way up to that last election. What was it? Last November or so? I can't remember when it was. It wasn't that long ago. But they had control all the way up to then, and the attack was on. They was trying to point this stuff out. Why did they even use the power they had at the time? I'm just asking. That's just from what I'm seeing. Cause I mean I want to take y'all word for everything, but it's kind of hard when you're seeing the flip side. I'm not sure if he had a choice. I'm not sure how top secret they was, because From what I'm hearing, all presidents left the White House with documents. His was nothing special. That's why they don't understand why they're making a big fuss about it. Obama did it. Bush did it. Goddamn Clinton did it. Everybody did it. You know what I'm saying? And if these top secrets are so witch code, I mean, are they telling us what's in these top? Well, it's top secret. That's a stupid question. Don't tell nobody. But I don't see where any of these. I'm not seeing where any of this paperwork that he has was witch code. That could have been top secret just for his administration. You know what I'm saying? Or it could have been things they didn't want Biden to get a hold of. This dude is a criminal. He has a criminal family. These dudes did a lot. Maybe it was shit that he was keeping away from him. I don't know. But I'll be right back in the next switch call. I got somebody at the door.
That she will answer for her crimes. He will focus everything on her. Justice will be done. It's out of my hands, but she will answer. Do these types of threats and doxing concern you about threats to your workforce and what it could mean?
Well, obviously what we're most concerned about are the actual acts of violence, which themselves have happened, and as we just discussed. But this kind of phenomenon, doxing, is itself hugely problematic, because the more information, personalized information about law enforcement professionals that are out in the internet, the more people who may be unstable or inclined to violence there are out there who can choose to act on it. And we're seeing that all too often. The number of officers across law enforcement killed in the line of duty has been up alarmingly over the last few years. And I know that because one of the things I committed to doing early in my tenure was every time an officer anywhere in the country is shot and killed in the line of duty, I was going to personally call that sheriff or that chief, and on behalf of the FBI, express our support and condolences and relay that to the family. And I have done that now close to 400 times since I've been in this job.
Thank you for doing that. And you don't only do that, you send your SACs, your special agents in charge, to their funerals as well, and I've seen that. Chairman, I've counted in this hearing, and we're only about an hour and a half in, the use of the word laptop about 20 times. In fact, in the chairman's opening statement, he said that he's upset that he believes the FBI prevented more Americans from learning about a private citizen's laptop. That is bananas to me. You all are bringing up FISA every single question. You're essentially saying to the American people that you're guardians of personal security and privacy, but the 2020 election was determined because the FBI didn't let more Americans see a private citizen's non-consensual nudes? Is that what we're saying here? That you lost the election not because of your ideas, but because a private citizen's laptop
Do you want an answer? Will you yield?
wasn't out there?
Will you yield?
That's bananas. Like, you should be a party of ideas, not a party of non-consensual nudes to help you win an election.
Will you yield for an answer?
It seems like that is what the objection is here today. We should be talking about the mass shootings that occurred over the last 10 days. Instead, this hearing has turned into absolute chaos. And I yield back.
Time of the gentleman's expired. We bring up FISA because it's up for reauthorization, if the gentleman didn't know, at the end of this year. And it was in our witness's opening statement. I didn't bring up the laptop.
Whose time are you speaking? Whose time are you speaking to, Chairman?
The judge last
Point of order.
week on
Whose
July 4th.
time are you speaking?
Chairman, point of order. Whose time are you speaking on?
I'm speaking on, I'm not a point of order, and I recognize the gentleman from Arizona.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Director, thanks for being here. Who is Matthew Graves? Who is Matthew Graves?
I believe Matthew Graves, at least the person I'm thinking of, is I think the U.S. Attorney in the District of Columbia.
That's the person I'm thinking of too. Are you aware that he has promised more than 1,000 more individuals will be charged or indicted related to January 6th?
I had not heard that he had said that.
Well, it seems arbitrary, and there's reports that it's kind of a quasi-quota system that he's put together for January 6 prosecutions. Do you approve of targets, goals, quotas in prosecuting alleged criminal conduct?
Well, certainly not quotas, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, goals is a little bit more of an ambiguous term, but
certainly not quotas.
Certainly not quotas.
Do you know if any of your personnel at the FBI is involved in the investigations promised that will lead to indictments by the January 6th quota established by U.S. Attorney Graves?
That doesn't sound familiar to me.
Okay. In June 2021, you told this committee that a small group of people at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th had, quote, all sorts of weapons. Do you remember being here for that committee hearing and testifying that way?
In general, yes.
It has been reported that more than 40 FBI personnel, agents, or contractors were in the crowd on January 6th. Is that number accurate?
I don't know if that number is accurate.
Former Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sun reportedly has asserted that the protest crowd was filled with federal agents. Are you aware of his assertion?
I am not.
Would you agree with him that it was filled with federal agents on January 6th?
I would really have to see more closely exactly what he said and get the full context to be able to evaluate it.
How many agents were actually, agents or human resources were present in the Capitol complex and vicinity on January 6th?
Well, again, it's going to get confusing because it depends on when we deployed and responded to the breach that occurred. Obviously,
how many were under
federal agents?
Sure. You're talking, and you and I both know what we're talking different things here. And please don't distract here because we're focusing on those who were there in an undercover capacity on January 6th. How many were there?
Again, I'm not sure that I can give you that number as I sit here. I'm not sure there were undercover agents on scene.
I find that kind of a remarkable statement.
See what I mean? This is some fucking bullshit. He know goddamn well there was agents there. But he gonna get right here in front of Congress and play stupid. And it's like they play stupid knowing that we got the proof. Most of us have seen some of the proof. We ain't seen all of it. But to a person who hasn't seen nothing at all and only watched the news, they would look at this situation totally different. There was no FBI agents, this and that. How you gonna have an event like that with no FBI agents like that around the fucking Capitol? Think about that. Hey, if you open your eyes, the proof is there, the truth. There's over 40,000 hours worth of tape out. Some of it has been shown here on YouTube. I'm not sure if it's still here, but some of it has been shown. Matter of fact, a lot of it was shown on the damn Fox, even though y'all don't like Fox, but the person who dropped it, I mean, those tapes weren't edited. They showed Horn Guy getting escorted through the freaking building after he came through that front door. All down the hallways, all up the stairs, escorted, surrounded, telling him where to go, telling him what's in this room. This is the mock room right here. They were telling him all kind of shit. We seen that shit. If I didn't think I can get flagged, that's why I think I need to move some of this stuff over to Rumble. Cause Rumble, I know ain't gonna mess with it if I decide to put this stuff up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna try to get over there and learn the ins and outs over there too. So I can get some of this stuff up. And I shouldn't have to pull it up. It's out there. Just punch it up. I put my channel at jeopardy just because y'all won't do no damn go research. That shit is sitting out there. That shit been out there for 2 months. 2-3 months that shit been sitting out there. This is what got goddamn on Carson Tucker fired. These damn videotapes. I'm just saying. But then, like I said, the hate will make you overlook a lot of this stuff, even though a lot of this stuff is factual.
Director, at this point, you don't know whether there were undercover federal agents, FBI agents in the crowd or in the Capitol on January 6th.
I say that because I want to be very careful. There have been a number of court filings related to some of these topics, and I want to make sure that I stick within what's in.
I understand that, but I thought I heard you say you didn't know
whether there were FBI agents or informants or human sources in the Capitol or in the vicinity on January 6th. Did I misunderstand you? I thought that's what you said.
Well, I referred very specifically to undercover agents.
Yeah. And so are you acknowledging then there were undercover agents?
As I sit here right now, I do not believe there were undercover agents on scene.
Any
FBI
assets?
agents.
Did you have any assets present
Man,
that
this
day?
guy is lying.
In the crowd.
When it comes to what you're calling assets, or what we would call confidential human sources, that's a place where,
I would try
again,
my
I
best
want
to
be
get this stuff out
careful.
before I
Much
get
as I said in
flagged down
response
and
to an
shit.
earlier
But
question,
the proof
there
is
are
out there.
court filings that I
This dude
think
is
could
sitting
speak
here
to this
lying
that I'm
straight.
happy to make sure we get to you, assuming they're not under seal, and that can better.
And like I said yesterday, I think a lot of these hearings are setups. They setting a lot of these people up. We already know you dirty. They got the evidence that you fucking dirty, and they just want to see what you gonna say. I mean, all those documents ain't gonna lie. All those videotapes ain't gonna lie. There was a bus full of FBI agents that pulled up at that motherfucker. Undercover. All wearing goddamn "Let's Make America Great Again."
Better answer the question than I can as I sit here right now.
In the same June 2021 committee hearing, you told us that the FISA court, quote, approved FBI procedures, minimization procedures, collection and procedures, querying procedures, did not find misconduct, close quote. That's what you said. Specifically, you said the FISC found no misconduct. Yet 3 months later, the Inspector General found widespread problems in FBI's FISA applications, raising serious questions about the FBI review process of applications, including hundreds of examples of noncompliance with Woods procedures, for example. And we know that from December 2020 to November 2021, the FBI conducted 3.4 million warrantless searches of U.S. data under FISA. 3.4 million, up nearly triple the amount of the previous year, and it got worse as you were telling us there was nothing to worry about. But now your reforms have produced about reduced it down to 119,000, over 200,000 total, but 119,000 discrete Americans. That just doesn't seem like you've accomplished much there if you have 119,000 illegal searches and queries under FISA. I'll yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The House Judiciary Committee is responsible for helping to ensure the rule of law. Unfortunately, this chairman ignored a bipartisan congressional subpoena served upon him. The actions of this chairman have undermined the credibility of all congressional committees in seeking information from witnesses and have undermined the rule of law. Now, Director Wray, thank you for your public service and for the service of the brave FBI agents. I'm going to ask you a series of basic questions. The brave FBI committees in seeking information from witnesses and have undermined the rule of all congressional on him. The actions of this chairman have undermined the credibility of all congressional committees in seeking information from witnesses and have undermined the rule of law. Now, Director Wray.
I'm not lying. These are the most disrespectful. This is the most disrespectful party I've ever seen. They will say some of anything. This dude is the head chair, and you just gonna sit there and disrespect him right there in the middle of in Congress and call him a lie. Money boy, welcome back. What you call it? You just gonna these people here, and that's another thing that threw me off about them. First, they insult our intelligence and think we're dumb. The second, they don't even respect the people around them. I mean, this dude is this egg roll head ass fucker. Let me get back to this shit.
Thank you for your public service and for the service of the brave FBI agents. I'm going to ask you a series of basic questions to get facts out to American people about our system of justice. Trump advisor Roger Stone was convicted in a federal court, correct?
That's my recollection.
Trump donor Elliot Brady was convicted in a federal court, correct?
Also my recollection.
The Attorney General at the time for those two convictions was Bill Barr. which president nominated Bill Barr for Attorney General?
President Trump.
Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, was convicted on 2 separate occasions in a federal court, correct?
I believe that's correct.
The Attorney General at the time for Cohen's second conviction was Matthew Whitaker. Which president appointed Matthew Whitaker as acting Attorney General?
President Trump.
Trump's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, was convicted in a federal court, correct?
Yes.
Trump's former deputy campaign manager, Mr. Gates, was convicted in a federal court, correct?
That's my recollection.
Trump's campaign foreign policy advisor, George Papadopoulos, was convicted in a federal court, correct?
Yes, I think he pled guilty, yes.
The Attorney General at the time of those 3 cases was Jeff Sessions. Which president nominated Jeff Sessions for Attorney General?
President Trump.
You were the FBI director for all of those cases at the time. Which president nominated you?
President Trump.
Okay. What these facts show is we don't have a 2-tiered system of justice. We have one Department of Justice that goes after criminals regardless of party ideology. All of these folks were convicted under the administrations of 3 separate Republican attorneys general. It is not the fault of the FBI that Donald Trump surrounded himself with criminals. Donald Trump brought that upon himself. Thank you to the FBI for exposing the cesspool of corruption of these Trump associates. Now, I'd like to talk about efforts by MAGA Republicans to defund the FBI. I think it'd be useful for the FBI to explain to American people what your missions are and how critical they are. So, again, a series of basic questions. The FBI's mission includes counterterrorism, correct?
Yes.
And that means the FBI works to stop terrorist attacks on American soil, right?
Yes.
The FBI's mission also includes counterintelligence, correct?
Yes.
And that means the FBI works to stop espionage of American companies and organizations. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. The FBI's mission includes stopping cybercrime, right?
Correct.
The FBI's mission includes stopping public corruption, right?
Correct.
The FBI's mission includes stopping weapons of mass destruction from being detonated on American soil, right?
Yes, we work with others on it, but yes.
The FBI's mission includes going after organized crime, right?
Yes.
You go after violent crime, correct?
Yes.
You also go after white-collar crime, right?
Yes.
The FBI's mission also includes going after child sex trafficking, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Republican members of their caucus, including members on this committee, have asked to defund the FBI. One member on this committee from Arizona wrote that the FBI, quote, should be defunded and dismantled. What would happen if the FBI was defunded and dismantled?
We would have hundreds more violent criminals out on the street, dozens more violent gangs terrorizing communities, hundreds more child predators on the loose, hundreds more kids left at those predators' mercy instead of being rescued, scores of threats from the Chinese Communist Party being left unaddressed, hundreds of ransomware attacks left unmitigated, terrorist attacks, both jihadist-inspired and domestic violent extremists, not prevented, that would succeed against Americans.
That's it, D-Truth. That is it. Child sex trafficking like Matt Gaetz. So what is the Biden administration doing right now, sir? We have 80,000 kids missing that's coming across the border. They came across the border, now they disappeared. 80,000. I reported on this. Explain to me where the hell 80,000 kids go. And it's probably more than that now because that was like 3 weeks ago. And by the way, I seen they coming through 34,000 a day. It's a whole lot more kids right now. So, you're welcome, Leah. Where's these 80,000 kids at, man? I don't think Matt Gaetz is hiding 80,000 kids in his whatchamacallit. Are they hiding in one of Biden's mansions? Or anybody connected to Biden, boy? Because it look like they doing a lot of human trafficking right now. Not just human trafficking. The only report that I seen, D-Truth, is what I had put on my community wall. Matter of fact, it's a video of mine. It's on one of my uploads on my channel. Matter of fact, it ain't on the I think I did a show on that. I think it was a quick show too. But It's there. It's either on my channel where I brought up the where I did the article, or I posted it because somebody else was talking about it. But I think I did something on it because I was talking about it on another show. But it's there. I didn't dig deep into it because that's going to be an ongoing thing that's going to get huger. You know what I'm saying? We got about another 15 months to go. You know what I'm saying? With this administration so far, you know what I'm saying? It's going to get a whole lot worse because that's exactly what it looked like they're doing. Human trafficking. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. They're taking them from the border and putting them in your hometown. There's Mexicans right now in my goddamn store. I can go to the damn grocery store and stuff. The woman, the cashier, say, goddamn, it costs $4.41. These fools, you know they from another country because they can't count 41 cents. You hear all this change in their fucking pockets and they'll reach in their pocket and pull out a damn another bill. A big bill. Just to make up for the change. They'll pull out a 20 to make up for 41 cents worth of change. You know, they everywhere right now. You see it on the news. They in Chicago. They talking about it every day on the news. You know what I'm saying? They in New York City. They in New York City tearing up 5-star hotels. Matter of fact, they in Chicago and they spent over, what was it, $53 million to help renovate the schools that they took down in the black areas to put up for these border jumpers. You know what I'm saying? That's human trafficking right there, man. That's human trafficking. They took from you. I mean, they took from us, and certain of our communities, shut the schools down and all that. Say it wasn't enough money, even though niggas have a stack load of fucking lottery tickets in their visors in their goddamn car, playing lottery every fucking day. This money's supposed to go to the school boards and the school administration and stuff like that. But they in black areas shutting these schools down, but you have enough money. After you said it wasn't enough money to hold these open, now you have money to reopen them to house illegals? That shit seems real funny to me, goddaggone. I'm just saying. We want to talk about sex trafficking and witch call. Until the evidence comes up, goddaggone, I can only talk about what's in front of me right now, boy. And that story there is in front of me. But let's get back to Lion Wray here.
A single FBI office in a single operation to seize enough fentanyl to wipe out an entire state. So many more of those lethal doses would be sweeping the country. We have close to 400, I think it is, somewhere between 300 and 400 investigations into the leadership of the cartels trafficking that fentanyl. So you would have a significantly greater threat from the southwest border from the cartels. So those are just a few things that would happen. Ultimately, the people most hurt.
I might stop this one in about an hour because this look like they still going. From what I'm seeing on the scale, they still going live. So I'm gonna have to split this one up. I don't want to sit on this same topic all day. There was some other things I wanted to do, and somebody else might go live too. So about another hour, it'll be like 4:30 or so, if we get that long. If we make it up. But I will be splitting this one up.
For no good reason. Once schools did nominally open, many instituted draconian testing and quarantine regimes, such as one student is possibly exposed to COVID, everyone goes home for the week. Children as young as toddlers were subjected to harmful mask mandates that defied international norms. The way some students were treated truly shocks the conscience. Just consider a few examples from my own state of California. A school district in Davis sent an email to parents announcing that their children will be required to eat outside in the rain to reduce exposure to COVID. A school in Sonoma County made young children chew with their masks on, explaining this was to minimize the time spent unmasked. Some schools in Los Angeles limited students to one bathroom break per day and barred them from drinking water outside of the lunch period. A school in the San Ramon Valley made students eat lunch on the ground. In October of that year, the American Academy of Pediatrics would declare a national state of emergency in children's mental health, citing dramatic increases in emergency department.
Okay, right here. D-Truth, D-Sizzle, man. What do y'all know about this one here, man? Now is he lying on this one? Because I ain't never heard this shit before. I ain't gonna lie to you. I ain't never heard this part of the pandemic and shit about the kids and shit eating on the floor and all that shit. That's fucked up. We already know that the school, most of these public schools is, what they call it, pipeline to prison. But goddamn, they taking this a little bit too far. You know what I'm saying? Having them eat on the floor, they can only go to the bathroom one time a day. They can only drink water at lunch. What kind of goddamn jailhouse shit is this shit? I mean, y'all heard them and shit. I'm not making this one up. I don't make none of the stuff up, but that was under Trump administration. You know what? I thought I banned that word from this channel. Damn it. I'm banning the word Trump from this channel. I don't want to hear no Trump stuff. Answer the question about this. But nah, this is the first time I ever heard something this severe, you know what I'm saying, coming from the kids in this pandemic. This is crazy right here. Let's let this guy continue and see what else I didn't know about this shit here.
Visits for all including suspected suicide attempts. In the face of this, Director, the Biden administration decided to take action. It mobilized the sweeping powers of federal law enforcement. But it wasn't to spare kids from such cruelty. Rather, it was to target the parents who were speaking out against it. The administration coordinated with the National School Board Association on a letter that began with the alarming claim America's public schools and its education leaders are under an immediate threat. The letter cited a handful of news stories, almost all of which involved purely expressive activity by parents at school board meetings, and called such activity a form of domestic terrorism. The letter called for the full counterterrorism and law enforcement powers of the federal government, including authority granted under the Patriot Act, to be mobilized to investigate, intercept, and prevent such activity. The Biden administration was ready to take this letter and run with it the moment it was received. After all, administration officials had participated in its drafting. Within 5 days of receiving it, Attorney General Merrick Garland fired off his infamous memo directing federal action in response to a, quote, disturbing spike in harassment, intimidation, and threats of violence against school administrators, board members, teachers, and staff. In response, the FBI opened 25 assessments against parents and even created a new threat tag. Director Wray, did Attorney General Garland consult with you or the FBI before issuing that memorandum?
I can't get into discussions that did, or maybe more importantly, did not happen between the FBI and the department in advance of.
Why do you say more?
No. I'm about to roast the fuck out of him. Now, I sat here and watched the Garland got daggone committee thing. How come he don't have no answers for what he did, and now you don't have no answers for what he did? Ain't Director Wray over Garland, or is Garland over Wray? Now, if you're not, why can't we get no fucking answers from neither one of them, Garland or him? If the parents did threaten them, they had every right to. You have a little girl that was raped in the fucking school bathroom. I mean, not raped in the real, in the in the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? They had every right to. But then he acting like he didn't send the letters out to attack the parents. And this dude probably signed off on it. But he ain't got no damn answers. These fools just lie dead to our face. That's why it's like, you watch these, you can actually see a lot of stuff besides looking at the news. Look at these motherfuckers that answer these questions and shit, and seeing the answers they don't have, or see some of the bullshit answers compared to what you already know that's out. And he ain't turning red, so he don't feel uncomfortable answering this one and shit because probably the right person is asking. But let somebody from the other side ask him a question, he start getting real red and jittery because they hitting the nail on the head.
More importantly, did not.
Well, because I will say to you the same thing that I said to all 56 of our field offices as soon as I read the memo. which is that the FBI is not in the business of investigating or policing speech at school board meetings or anywhere else for that matter, and we're not going to start now. Now, violence, threats of violence, that's a different matter. We're going to work with our
Correct.
state
So
local
that's what the
partners
memo
on
was
that.
predicated on. And what I'm asking you, was there any evidence that you provided to Attorney General Garland that supported that?
And that dude only got violent when they tried to shut him up, like he's not supposed to speak up for his child. That's when he got violent, because they approached him. Just like you see them approaching everybody in these hallways when they just a little small protest. It's alright to protest in the street, hold up fucking traffic, burn up our goddamn neighborhoods and shit like that. But when you go to the place that need to be protest, you're approached by fucking sheriffs and state troopers and shit to get you off the premises where you speaking your goddamn mind. This shit makes me sick. How did y'all get me mad? Goddamn it, back to the show.
That predicate, that premise that there was an increase in harassment and threats of violence.
I'm not aware of any such evidence, but I know that we've had a number of our folks who have been up here for transcribed interviews. So unless some of them shared it, I'm not aware of any of that.
Well, actually, what they've shared with us points to just the opposite. You had, for example, a letter from Christopher Dunham, acting assistant director, in March of this year, where the FBI acknowledged that it has not observed an uptick of threats directed at school officials since it began tracking the data. Does that sound accurate to you?
Yes, sir.
And is it also true that, according to the FBI itself, none of the school board related investigations have resulted in federal arrests or charges?
I think
the truth, boy, you keep commenting, boy, goddamn, you gonna tell on yourself, man. Because everybody was in money bullshit, and what you were saying was supposed to be right. Now, for you to overlook what I just said shows that you might not be too credible, because everybody saw that. It was national news. You know what I'm saying? We knew the situation, how it came about and everything. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, brother. I don't know. What did I tell y'all, man? When you start pulling stuff out like this and stuff, the real truth starts coming out. Even from other folks, you know.
I think that's correct. I think of the 25, and for context, that's 25 tips.
I'm sorry, I have limited
targets.
time, so if that's correct, I'd like to move on. This committee's investigation concluded that the Justice Department's own documents demonstrate that there was no compelling nationwide law enforcement justification for the Attorney General's directive. Do you have any reason to dispute that conclusion?
No.
So we had an investigation of parents. We had a sweeping mobilization of federal power against the most protected core First Amendment activity, the right of citizens to speak and petition their government on the most important of issues, the education of their children. And you are telling me that the entire basis for that, there was no evidence to support it.
Well, I want to be clear. We, the FBI, as I said, were not and did not investigate people for exercising.
Should Attorney General Garland rescind the memo?
I'm sorry?
Should Attorney General Garland rescind that memo?
Oh, that's a question for the Attorney General.
Do you believe he should?
Again, that's a question for the Attorney General.
Do you believe that the Attorney General should apologize to parents who are the subject of that memorandum?
I'm not going to speak to that.
Will you apologize for the FBI's own role?
I think the FBI conducted itself the way it should here, which is that we've continued to follow our longstanding rules and have not changed anything in response to that memo.
Time of the gentleman has expired. The chair recognizes the gentlelady from Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Wray, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for your service to the country. I do want to focus on some areas of concern around American civil liberties that I have had long-standing concerns about. In testimony to Senate Intelligence in March, you stated that the FBI had previously purchased commercial database information that includes location data derived from internet apps.
Oh gosh, not her. But no, D-Truth, what's-called? No, he wasn't talking about the COVID base, what's-called? He was talking about Garland and his letter talking about the parents at the school board meetings. It's like he fitted a whole bunch of stuff into one question, but hey, get rid of that word, D-Truth. Get rid of that word. Use put a G in front of it. What's-called? That threw me off. But no, he was talking about the parents at the school board meetings, and And what in Garland's letter, you know what I'm saying? And what that letter done was caused a parent to get attacked for coming to the school board for getting assaulted by a cross-dresser. His daughter got attacked by a cross-dresser in the girls' bathroom, and he was upset. And when he went to the school board meeting, the school board, the sheriffs or whatever in that town whipped his ass and shit for him speaking up. It didn't get violent until he wasn't being heard. And he wasn't being heard when the sheriffs came up and walked up behind him and beside him and shit and acting like he was trying to shut him up. We got freedom of speech in this country. You know what I'm saying? Especially on a situation like that, it's like either they was trying to run from the situation, shut it up, that it don't get out and shit, because they were guilty as hell that they let this happen. We allow these laws to get up in the schools, boys and women's bathrooms and all kind of shit. None of this shit should have happened. And a lot of it is, for it to get into the school, that means the school board has to be taking directions from somebody for this to happen. They're not just doing this on their own. Not from county to county to county. Everybody in the country don't think the same. Just like I was saying about the news. Everybody shouldn't have the same words coming up out of their mouth in the same style. You know what I'm saying? It's like a lot of these school boards was doing the same thing, pushing a lot of these bullshit laws or through, and it was fucking up our kids. School boards across the country. This wasn't a one-time event. There's plenty of events. All of them are not showed. Didn't they just say that they stopped a lot of information from coming out? All of that was brought up in this. You know what I'm saying? They had a certain control that was on social media to stop. They would call that misinformation, D-Truth. You can see it. You can see it on video. You can see the parent, what he was saying and all kind of shit. And I think some of this stuff we could still go pull up. But it's like you can say whatever you could be at the school board saying whatever, and then they automatically attack. It was one that just passed the other day. But if it's the misinformation thing is the power that they had to shut things down like that, so you don't see it. It was a lot of stuff that I brought up 3 or 4 years ago. If I could have got it through, we wouldn't be in this. We would still be in this situation because I don't speak to the majority. You know what I'm saying? I speak to a minority of folks. But still, my minority of folks would know the difference of what was going on then to now, and knowing that these motherfuckers are lying if a lot of us was able to put out the information that we were supposed to have been putting out. The real news. Yeah. No, that didn't have nothing to do with the That didn't have nothing to do with the COVID regulations. That one there, the Garland's letter to parents, the school board administration. I think that's how it was written. But I'm writing this down in my notebook. A lot of the stuff I am gonna come back to. You know what I'm saying? As Silas would say, I'm here to report.
But that to your knowledge, the FBI does not currently purchase data. But just last month, the ODNI declassified a report revealing that the FBI and other agencies do purchase significant amounts of commercially available information about Americans from data brokers. And the report notes that commercially available information, quote, has increasingly important risks and implications for U.S. persons' privacy and civil liberties, as commercially available information can reveal sensitive and intimate information about individuals. It is public information that the FBI uses Babel Street and Ventel and has a Lexus account. All of these companies provide data for purchase. Can you tell me how the FBI uses that data?
Respectfully, this is a topic that gets very involved to explain, and so what I would prefer to do is have our subject matter experts come back up and brief you, and they can answer your questions in detail about it, because there's a lot of confusion that can be unintentionally caused about this topic.
But does the FBI purchase data?
My testimony that you referred to before remains the same. And the story about the ODNI report doesn't change that. But again, there's a lot of precision and technical dimensions to this.
Well, I do appreciate that, but I'm looking at a report that is from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence saying that the FBI purchases data. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to enter this into the record.
Objection.
Do you know if the contracts with data brokers like the ones I described provide location data?
My testimony about purchasing commercial database information that includes location data derived from internet advertising remains the same, which is that we currently do not do that.
But the information that you have that has already been purchased, does it contain location
Again,
information?
I'm not trying to be obtuse or difficult here. I just know from experience that the more you drill into this whole issue of commercial data, geolocation data, et cetera, that it gets very involved. In some cases, it involves pilot projects that are in the past. In some cases, it involves national
Director
security
Wray,
information, et cetera.
I do
So I just
understand
want to
that,
make
but
sure
you're-
that we get you the information you need.
That's great. I will take that, but I do want to say that this is just an extremely important issue for the American people to understand how their data is being used. That is location data, that is biometric information, it's medical and mental health information, it's information related to individuals' communications, it's information about people's internet activity. And while I understand that that's complicated, that is the reason that you come before us, so that the American people can hear this. Let me ask you this. Does the FBI have a written policy outlining how it can purchase and use commercially available information?
There are a number of policies that bear on this topic. Again, that could be part of the same briefing that we're happy to provide. I don't dispute at all that this is an important topic. I'm simply saying that precisely because it's such an important topic.
Son of a bitch, answer the goddamn phone. I mean, they don't even answer the goddamn question. You got me so mad I don't even know what the fuck I'm saying. Do you use our information? Or are you getting our information in legally and using it against us? Is the motherfucking question. You are the director of the FBI and you can't answer shit. And we supposed to take this guy serious? Or am I just tripping? What do the FBI defenders have to say in the chat? Oh, y'all ain't saying nothing. All right. This guy here, man. I mean, this guy is a waste of our tax money. Damn. I mean, he beating around the freaking bush. I'm not even a fan of Homegirl. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm not even a fan of Homegirl, but she asks a legit question. Are you beating around the bush? Are you beating around the bush because she's on your side? But it was a legit question. We would like to know the answer to this shit. All of them. Damn Millie and all these fools get in front of this damn committee and shit and act like they can't answer a question, but you're the head of everything. This don't make no sense.
Topic that a minute and 12 seconds counting down is not the best way for me
I understand
to
that,
explain it, that's all.
but I'm asking whether there is a policy. It sounds like there is a policy. When was that policy last updated?
That I can't, as I sit here right now, I don't have the answer for you on that. But again, there are a number of policies that are relevant to this, and so that may affect the...
And you'll commit to providing those to us so that we can explore them together.
I would commit to providing you a briefing that will provide hopefully very helpful information to help you understand better this whole topic.
What about a written policy governing how commercially available information can be used in criminal investigations?
So now you had 2 years to prepare.
I think it's all wrapped up in the same
and you still don't have
answer
answers. Now we got to wait for
I mean, the
next
reason
time you
that this
come?
is so important is
tripping.
because the question is whether the FBI uses that data to generate leads for investigations only or further along in the investigative process. There's public reporting on DHS contracts with the same data brokers that I mentioned earlier, totaling millions of taxpayer dollars. And as you know, in the 2018 Supreme Court decision in Carpenter versus the United States, the court held that it is a violation of the Fourth Amendment for the government to access historical location data without a warrant. Does the FBI have a written policy interpreting the Supreme Court's decision in Carpenter?
If I recall correctly, there was guidance, I can't remember if it's a policy or what, that came out after the Carpenter decision. But again, I think that'll be encompassed in the briefing that we're talking
Well,
about.
I'm going to follow up with you. I want to thank you again for your service. This is a critically important issue for the American people to understand. We have bipartisan support around FISA reauthorization and the concerns we have around FISA reauthorization. And unless we really understand what measures the FBI is taking to ensure that people's privacy is protected, I think it's going to be a very difficult reauthorization process. I'm sure you know that. Thank you, Director Wray. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back, and I would just say, well said. Appreciate your work with colleagues, bipartisan area and bipartisan approach in this area, and you have friends over here who want to help you on that. We now go.
D. Sizzle, you are absolutely right, man. You are absolutely right. So, who sent this nigga there? How come he won't answer no goddamn questions? I mean, you a Republican. Trump put you in goddamn position. Now you sitting here dumb as shit. Now I'm gonna really go ham on your ass. I think a recess is coming up, and I think that's where I'm gonna stop it at. Because I did, when I first looked at it, was in the middle of recess too. So I think one is coming up. How far in are we? Damn, I can't even tell from that part. Oh shit, we like 2.5 hours in or so, and they're still going. What's called? But if when the recess show up, you know what I'm saying, that's when I take a break. I will try to see what else is going on, try to gather up some more stuff, so I can come back live and stuff. We got to fill in the blanks. Got Truth Hurts, man, down for the week, man. She out for the week. She on vacation. We finally made her take a vacation, man. We were cutting up so bad. But yeah, just filling in the blanks, man. Keeping our team got daggone occupied with all kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Hey, D Sizzle, man. Hey, send your number to that to that app we use. I can see the notification. I just can't click into it.
To the gentleman from, I know, Director Wray, if we can go just a couple more, then we'll take a little break, if that works for the director. A couple more on each side, then we can take a break. Okay. I think. Okay. All right, we'll go. I think it's Mr. Morris is up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Wray, thank you for being here today. In 2022, you testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee and stated, quote, "I condemn in the strongest possible terms any prospect of retaliation against whistleblowers," end quote. Do you still agree with that statement?
Yes.
Do you feel that your actions as the FBI leadership during your tenure live up to that sentiment?
Yes.
Director Wray, a few months ago, we heard from, are you familiar with a Special Agent Garrett O'Boyle?
I'm familiar with the name.
After Mr. O'Boyle came to Congress and blew the whistle on the misconduct at the Bureau, his clearance was unsurprisingly suspended. Did that surprise you? Do you find that suspicious?
I can't discuss a specific security clearance matter, partly because the security clearance determinations are made by ODNI, directed by the security clearance manager, which is not the FBI director. And I don't want to insert myself into the process while appeals are pending, for example.
Well, as a leader, I think it's important. We need to have the opportunity, and you know by law, they have the opportunity to be whistleblowers and talk to Congress and inform us on issues. And I think to restore trust in the FBI, it's imperative on you to allow whistleblowers to come forward. And for us to have the oversight we need to have to make sure, I mean, we're seeing the polling numbers. The FBI is tanking, and it's under your watch, sir. And it concerns me for the American people. When I'm in the district, the number one concern, and I come from a fairly rural district, is weaponization of the FBI and the DOJ coming after conservative American citizens who just simply want to have a voice in the process. And so I would encourage you, Mr. O'Boyle, I understand he has been suspended since September of 23, almost 10 months now, 2022. He was suspended in 2022. So almost a year now, the man's trying to go without a paycheck. I don't know, could you make it 10 months without a paycheck, Mr. Wray?
I prefer not
According
to
to
have
what,
to.
yeah, well, you talk about your wife not being real happy, but yeah, taking a pay cut. Well, can you imagine 10 months later?
Wow,
and
he
you're
laughed
still
at
going
that
through a
shit.
process
You know he's
for
set
just
for
a
the rest of his
whistleblower
life
coming,
right
to
now.
coming to the Congress and trying to inform us on issues he sees within the FBI. I think we could help you in the process if you would allow us. But in some ways, we have to look at this whistleblower and other whistleblowers and encourage them to come forward and be truthful with the American people. Two real quick questions. Why would the FBI offer Christopher Steele $1 million to verify a dossier about Trump-Russian collusion, and then the same FBI offer $3 million to Twitter to squash a story on the Hunter Biden laptop? Do you have any idea why a law enforcement story on the FBI offer Christopher Steele encourage this if you would allow us? But in some ways, we have to look at this whistleblower and other whistleblowers and encourage them to come forward and be truthful with the American people. Two real quick questions. Why would the FBI offer Christopher Steele $1 million to verify a dossier about Trump-Russian collusion, and then the same FBI offer $3 million to Twitter to squash a story on the Hunter Biden laptop? Do you have any idea why a law enforcement agency would be playing into elections?
Well,
Before this guy lies about that damn questionnaire, I don't know why the fuck he laughing. That shit ain't funny. Did y'all pay $3 million to squash the laptop story? Because people like me and shit was told that we were fucking lies, the shit didn't exist, goddamn it's a fucking conspiracy and all that shit. You making us look like a dumbass, so I'm gonna be on your head for the rest of this fucking meeting. So y'all paid $3 million to goddamn block the damn story? That's some bullshit. You heard it here first, goddamn. You heard it here first. Unless you were somewhere else and heard it, but you heard it here first. If you here with me,
You raised a number of different issues there. So first, as to the Steele dossier, that of course is a subject treated at great length in the Durham report, which and again, predates my time as director.
I understand that, but it was the same agency paying $1 million to push one story out or try to collaborate one story, and $3 million to quiet another story for political opponents. I don't understand.
And then I would, as to the second part related to Twitter, I would disagree with your characterization respectfully. When there are payments to social media companies, that is by longstanding federal law going back, I think, about 4 decades, where we have to pay companies for their costs in responding to legal process. And it's not just social media companies, it's other kinds of businesses as well.
Well, when those stories get out, and you understand, and certainly the dossier story, and I know that wasn't under your watch, but also the Hunter Biden laptop story, that to me looks political. To the American people, it looks political. And I'm just an everyday guy. I'm not an attorney, Mr. Wray, just an everyday guy. But to me, it looks extremely political, and that is why you're having trouble keeping the FBI's reputation afloat. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to yield the balance of my time, but I want to enter one thing to the record, Mr. Chairman.
Can you do that after we just yield, then we'll enter it in the record after?
Sure.
Director Wray, did the FBI ask financial institutions to turn over their customers? You yield the time to me. Did the FBI ask financial institutions to turn over their customers' debit and credit card purchase history in the Washington, D.C. area for January 5th and 6th, 2021?
I don't know the answer to that as I sit here right now.
Well, we do, because Bank of America gave us this email from the FBI to Bank of America.
Well, I am aware that Bank of America provided information to the FBI, but what communications occurred between the FBI and Bank of America about it?
Let's read it. To recap our morning call, we are prepared to action the following threshold. Customers transacting debit card, credit card, Washington, D.C. purchases between 1/5/21, 1/6/21. That's scary enough. But then the next bullet point's even more scary. Any historical, capital letters, all capitals, any historical purchase of a firearm. You guys asked financial institutions, at least Bank of America, we think more. Did you guys ask them?
Again, I don't have the full sequence of the back and forth. Looks like you've got one email that I haven't seen before here. So I don't know that I have the full exchange that this
Well, does this email trouble you as much as it does members of the Judiciary Committee? That the FBI is asking for every single, we had members of Congress here that week first time they're getting sworn in as a new member of Congress, their family in town, and you're sweeping, and they may happen to be a customer of Bank of America, and you're sweeping up every debit and credit card purchase of their family who were in town that week because their husband or their dad or their mom is getting sworn as a new member of Congress. And then you're also saying, overlaying that information with, did this person buy a firearm?
And the question is?
I'm just nervous about that. Are you nervous about that?
As I think I've testified before, my understanding is that our engagement with Bank of America was fully lawful, but that we recalled the leads that were cut to field
Well, if it's
office.
lawful, that was my next point. If it's lawful, why did you say we're not going to use these leads? That's what Mr. Jensen testified to when we deposed him, the director of the terrorism unit at the FBI. That's what he testified to. Why did you not use the leads if it was lawful to get the information?
Well, there are
Chairman, it's 1 minute and 18 seconds over time.
Sir, there are plenty of times where there are things that we lawfully can do, but that we decide is better that we not do. And I think that's what happened.
The idea that Mr. Massey said earlier, that this is lawful, that you can ask this is scary. This is something else we're going to have to change. With that, I would yield to the gentlelady recognize the gentlelady from, we got a unanimous consent request from Mr. Moore.
Mr. Chairman, yes, the Wall Street Journal article I'd like to enter into the record says Republicans eye sweet home for new FBI headquarters in Alabama.
All right, without objection, the chair now recognizes the gentlelady for Texas for 5 minutes, and then we'll take a break, Director.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Director Wray, for your presence here. Thank you to the men and women of the FBI in particular for the work that you've done on gun violence, and as well the work that you've done in keeping Americans safe. Let me very quickly move on some issues that have been made a chief part of the work of our friends on the other side of the aisle. Republican members of this committee have spent much time of this Congress claiming that various aspects of the U.S. government have been weaponized against the American people. Director Wray, are you or your staff or auxiliaries weaponizing the FBI against the American people?
Absolutely not.
Thank you very much. Let me thank you as well for your civil rights work and emphasize that in addition, there have been representations that the FBI exaggerates domestic terrorism reports or data. Certainly, January 6th had its many different storytellers, but that was an act of domestic terrorism. I don't know how you could have exaggerated that as evidenced by the special congressional committee we had. But let's just think of domestic terrorism as it relates to the good men and women of our law enforcement. Take an example in February 2020 in Texas, where a white supremacist was engaged in conspiracy involving swatting, a harassment tactic, and all of the emergency services showed up over and over again. Does domestic terrorism impact negatively and dangerously on America's law enforcement and first responders?
Absolutely, and sometimes law enforcement are themselves the intended victims or targets of domestic violent extremism.
Though you have good, committed individuals, does the critique is legitimate? That's our job. Does the constant condemnation impact on morale of FBI personnel or those trying to join the FBI?
Well, look, our people are human beings, and nobody likes to see the organization they've dedicated their careers, really their lives to, unfairly criticized. But I will tell you, as I said in my opening statement, that the good news is our people are also tough and resilient. Our attrition is in the low single digits and would be the envy of almost any employer, and our recruiting, unlike what's happening in law enforcement more generally, is actually up very significantly.
Thank you, and I look forward to it being diverse. Let me start with our whistleblower journey here. Are you familiar with FBI Special Agents Kyle Serapin?
I'm familiar with the name.
Is that yes?
I'm familiar with the name.
Yeah. The committee heard testimony that Mr. Serapin was suspended after he mishandled his service weapon and then said he wanted to use 2 female FBI executives as shooting targets. That was testimony of Jennifer Moore, HR under Human Resources under oath from the FBI. Mr. Serapin describes himself as a congressional whistleblower, but committee Republicans will not tell us whether he has been in contact with them. Are you familiar with former FBI agents Garrett O'Boyle and Marcus Allen?
Again, I'm familiar with the names.
Thank you. O'Boyle was suspended for accessing information about an ongoing case and then leaking to the press, and Allen was suspended for interfering in the investigation of a January 6th suspect. Both Allen and O'Boyle testified before the Weaponization Committee in May. Were you aware of that?
Yes, ma'am.
I think they are clearly there for all friends and family to see. I assume they wanted to be seen. Do you know who Kash Patel is, if you know?
Yes, I know who he is.
He's an aide to President Trump, isn't he? Or was an aide? Or is an aide to President Trump?
Well, he was an individual who served in a number of different roles, both up here on the Hill and in the executive branch.
Thank you. Here's another picture. It's the checks that Serapin sent to both O'Boyle and Allen. Each check was for $255,194. Let me say that again. These men were paid $255,194 after they testified as so-called whistleblowers. And it should be noted that it says here, as it says, for holding the line. Director, at the time that Serapin and Patel gave Garrett O'Boyle and Marcus Allen these checks, do you happen to know if they were still employees of the FBI?
I can't speak to that. I don't know the answer.
If they were, 5 CFR 2635, and I'd appreciate if we could get an answer in writing after you go back, whether they were or not, prohibits FBI employees from accepting cash gifts, doesn't it?
Well, there are a whole number of rules that would apply to this. Again, I don't want to weigh in on a specific person.
But if they were, that rule applies about cash gifts.
I'm not aware of a situation in which they could appropriately accept cash gifts.
Just generally, if that applies to FBI agents about not taking cash gifts, is that correct?
There are definitely rules that apply to special agents accepting cash gifts.
Let me just finish this. Can you explain why an FBI agent should not receive cash? But let me move to one that I think is extremely important. Mr. Chairman, just a moment. And here is what I think is most interesting piece of this whole puzzle. O'Boyle and Allen are represented by an outfit called Empower Oversight. Empower Oversight is run by former Republican staffers. Do you know who else Empower Oversight might represent in any way?
Mr. Chairman, I have a unanimous consent request.
Let me just
Gentlelady's time expired.
Thank you so very much.
Respond.
Thank you. The so-called IRS whistleblower who Jim Jordan had relied upon. But does anyone need any further proof that these allegations are ginned up, corrupt political stunts advanced by those who don't want to see us follow the law? Finally, Mr. Chairman, here's another person who wants to join you on the 702, but the FBI has begun major reforms, and I think we should recognize that. You've been very kind. I yield back my time.
Gentlelady yields back. I would just point out, my guess is they got the money because they wanted the money because they had to trying to feed their family.
They actually haven't received the money. Have unanimous consent request, Mr. Chairman, of a tweet Matthew Foldy put out here during this hearing. Right off the bat, Jerry Nadler lies about whistleblower getting $250,000. He says here, Marcus Allen has not received $250,000. He has not received or cashed the check that Kyle Seraphin posted online. Enter that in the record.
Into the record, the committee will take a 5-minute recess, 5 minutes, then we'll come back.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, there we go right there, their first recess. And they still rocking. We at about 2 hours and some change. It looked like they still going another 3 hours later. I think this thing started at 9 o'clock this morning or so. Or it might have started at 11. No, because we were 2 hours in before I started. But this is getting very interesting with some of the questions they asking. I'm always interested in stuff like this, you know what I'm saying? Just trying to see if it's following the news that we actually hearing. And right now, this dude don't even have answers for the news that was given on the local news networks. So this is turning into a hot mess. I don't even want to see no highlights from this, from what we haven't seen yet. I'm not sure if I'm gonna come back with this later on today, or it might be tomorrow, because like I said, I'm getting backed up in a lot of these hearings that I'm seeing, especially today. It's like 5 or 6 going today alone. Some of them are interesting, some of them are just, yeah, what's called, this seems to be a good one, and I think things are about to heat up the more questions they start to ask. You know, so I'm gonna cut this one short. See who else is going live. I see Liz B just dropped the upload. I don't think she's actually live, but Liz B just dropped the upload. Make sure the peeps go check that out. Please subscribe to any of these channels that you see getting dropped in the chat. You know what I'm saying? D-Sizzle, beware. I'm in the streets, dog. I'm in the streets. But it's yeah, if you like this kind of content, make sure you hit that like button. You know what I'm saying? Share this video. You know what I'm saying? You like these kind of topics, you have some input, please don't be scared to comment down below. I'm only mad when I'm watching. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? You want to help support the channel and donate to the channel to watch it grow, please hit me a Cash App, $RealMadTV. I want to thank everybody for coming out and interacting with me in the chat. You know what I'm saying? D-Sizzle, Mr. Crystal. This is nothing but what y'all see between me and him. Well, we D-Truth. Welcome to the club, brother. Welcome to the club. What you call yeah, D-Sizzle, D-Truth, man. That guy there, man. He's a full-blown damn Democrat boy. Democrat boy. For how he come at us, you know what I'm saying? But all I want to do is open his eyes a little bit wider. You know what I'm saying? That's what I had to do. And you know where I was at. You open it a little bit wider, you start to see a bigger picture. It ain't always what they tell you. You know, so with that being said, who knows, it could be an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, depending on who's going live. I will be back. I wanted to do some videos on some artificial intelligence and shit, man. There's some things out here that I'm seeing, man, I can't believe. It ain't just the dogs and soldiers no more and shit, man. It's like, are they trying to replace us on every level? You know what I'm saying? Even in sports. So there's other things I want to get into besides government stuff, you know what I'm saying? This is more like school to me and stuff. I'm learning a lot of this stuff as I go. All I have is what I heard throughout the years, which I know I can bring up pretty well. Once the conversation is going, I can relate to a lot of things. But sitting here learning the nitty gritty, boy, is woo. All these fools cricket. All of them. And it's fun to watch them fight. That's the main thing. It's fun to watch these motherfuckers fight. And to get more information. It ain't just to watch the fight. It's to get more information too. But you know what I'm saying? Trying to make this stuff a little bit more fun. You know. That's why I enjoyed the conversation that was going on in the chat. You know what I'm saying? D-Truth, thank you for joining me today, man. I enjoyed the conversation, man. Got there going Leah. Sirius X, thank you for the work that you're doing in the chat. 6ix9ine, E. Brooks stopped through, Money Boy came through. Most of these people are in and out. Anyway, I can tell by looking at the number there. What called Truth Hurts, I know you in the bushes, salute. But Truth Hurts, I meant Truth Hurts. I said D-Truth again. And which called B Sugar, thank you for joining. Just going up the list here, just going up the list of what I can see. Boy, y'all were throwing down in the chat today. Hey, Brooks, Money Boy, Sirius X, Tanya Renee, thank you for coming through. Can't handle the truth. I want to thank all of y'all. Thank y'all for supporting this kind of content. You know what I'm saying? Actually, I thought that I didn't think too many people was going to be interested in this kind of topic. You know what I'm saying? I doubted myself for a long time. 2-3 years worth, just because of some of the responses that I get. You know what I'm saying? When I am talking about it and stuff, it just seemed like nobody really wanted to hear this shit. But I'm glad to see that there are folks out there that truth, lies, or whatever, we just want to get down to the nitty gritty. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate all the knowledge that was being dropped in the chat, man. Damn child traffickers and all kind of shit, man. I'm finding out more shit. Well, I thought it was just got there on one group of people, but it might be more. You know what I'm saying? As I was taught, you never take nobody's word for it. Go look it up yourself. You know what I'm saying? So there's got to be a lot more investigating I got to do. I have a strange way of learning a lot of this stuff. D-Sizzle will tell you I don't write a lot of this stuff down. So when things are coming at me, now I'm starting to see what you're talking about. I get stuck in certain situations and stuff with things I should have researched and wrote down. You know what I'm saying? Instead of just relying off of natural memory, which I've been doing a pretty good job of. You know what I'm saying? But it is some areas when I'm battling people like D-Truth and stuff, man, that's coming with their conspiracy lies and stuff, man. It's hard to debunk. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? Truth hurts. She do the courtroom and stuff like that. To me, this is my kind of court. You know? So this team is full of a bunch of content that matters. You know what I'm saying? We all over the place. We not just tearing the streets up. We just not the Unicron of YouTube right now, just sucking everybody in and stuff that come and see us. Which that's exactly what we're doing, man. How many people we gonna pick up before the end of the year? You know, so like we're saying this just ain't a name. True State Gang and True Sippers just ain't a name. We're gonna make this shit a sector, and from there we make that shit a network, a real network with many channels. You know what I'm saying? So that's the goal. Well, that's my goal. I haven't talked it out with the rest of the people and shit yet, but that was been my goal from the start. Get our own network so we ain't got to be up under people like YouTube, Rumble, and stuff like that. We get our own web pages going and run our own shows the way we want to run our shows. Instead of having a goddamn police officer overseeing what the hell we doing, worrying about the music we playing and all kind of stupid stuff. I can't believe they blocked my goddamn last music shit, man. Goddamn. It's like some of these albums, man, I don't pay for 1,000 times or more. I should have a right to pay these motherfuckers. They got their money. So, with that being said, thank y'all again. D-Sizzle, Serious S, thank y'all again. Got that going on. I'm feeling good today. D-Truth got me going early this morning, so I might just come right back. Depends on what's up on my news feed. All right. And peace. Hey, D-Sizzle, drop your number in that what's called. Oh, never mind. You already did it. You already did. I can see it on the notification over there. I'm gonna try to hit you up here in a few seconds and shit. With that being said, make sure I got the right what's called going, boy. I ain't trying to go through my whole mini movie again. By the way, I'm working on my mini movie, The Militant Revenge. You know what I'm saying? What y'all see on the top of the page or at the start of the show is just I did some some George Lucas. I think that's his name. I did some George Lucas. That's more like the middle. That whole intro is more like the middle of what I'm creating, and there's gonna be an ending and there's gonna be a beginning from where I started. So you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get all that going back together. It should be about 15-20 minutes or so once I'm done with that little intro. So little intro, that big intro. You know what I'm saying? So again, with that being said, we out.